gentle or humble. Age and countless battles have hardened my skin and soul. Perhaps that is why Cairn assigned me to Sunrock Retreat. The gentle winds and warm sun does ease the pain. Thorin, take pride as the protector of these lands. Undoubtedly, you can guess why I am alarmed with the number of harpies that dwell here in Stonetalon. The Blood Furies are the source of the increasing number of harpies in Kalimdor. They encroach upon all likes of life, preventing the innocent from leaving their boundaries. I need you to cull the harpies, adventurer.
How kind of you. Greetings.
Eliminate Garenzo. Now there is a prospect that I have no objections to. Gnomes are bad enough as it is, but what I learned about Garenzo only makes it worse. Apparently, he was one of the head engineers in Gnomeregan, where he was working on their secret project. We could never infiltrate Dunmarok well enough to find out specific details. It was a failure. Our reports say that whatever it was literally exploded in their faces. I met Garenzo once, but let me tell you, he's not easy on the eyes. His flesh looks like it's rotting away, and he's grafted metal and gears onto his body, replaced some of his limbs with mechanical ones. Northeast of here, far above Cragpool Lake, up near the water wheel, is where Garenzo watches over the entire site. There's no way I could fight my way up there, not to mention take on Garenzo. But you look like you might be able to make it. If you kill him for me, I'll make it worth your while.
war, they lose even the 48 war, and then they just all die. Yeah. I guess the problem is that like Israel does at least have a position where they do have a very strong military and they have nuclear weapons, and they do have a position where they're never going to give up, let alone everything Palestinians want. I don't think that's ever going to happen. There's going to have to be concessions on both sides, but they're also never going to give up a situation that's going to result in them all getting like clapped. So whether that's if they give voting rights and they make it like a very federalized system where there's just like one state, but you've got both groups kind of like doing their own thing when it comes to voting for what kind of societies they want to build and that kind of thing. But I don't think it's much of a gamble to say right now, which is why I kind of like to focus on just more immediate stuff, is that like right now it's just like ending the settlements. That's like the first, nothing can happen before that. Like there's no negotiations if settlements keep expanding. If that stops, that like opens a door and then you can see what happens when,
Yeah, the only scary thing though is it opens lots of doors, some of which are really good for everybody, some of which are good for Palestinians, some of which are good for Israelis potentially, right? Like, yeah, like that's like if they end the settlements, that it's kind of like it feels like when conservatives in the United States are like, do we want to ban bump stocks or do red flag laws? Like we would be okay with that, but we're scared that if we give that, we don't know what's next. And I feel like that's probably the concern for Israel, that like, well, if we stop the settlements, we start pulling back, like what's next for negotiations, I guess.
Yeah, but is that like, so what's if they just focus on that one move, like just stopping expanding settlements, which as far as the international community, that's like the consensus. They should stop that.
Sure.
If they do that, what's like the worst thing that happens like right after that in response?
Well, I mean, if you're not winning, you're losing. I mean, my guess would be is if they stop expanding on settlements, if they start to lose any, or if they slowly pull back from the expansive point and now they're stationary, then the next thing that people are going to fight for is going to be to pull back from some settlements, right?
I don't think anyone's realistically expecting the bigger ones to go away.
Sure.
But again, it's like anything that happens it's going to have to be as part of like a negotiated process. So I feel like if they can offer it's usually like one-to-one land swaps in exchange for pulling back from settlements, which has been accepted in the past. So I don't think it's going to be the case that they're going to expect like 500,000 settlers to leave the West Bank. Especially, I don't think Israel's ever conceding to settlers leaving, because after what happened in Gaza, they're never doing that again.
What happened in Gaza? That it became militarized and people got bombed from there?
Well, they got rid of, the IDF took 8,000 settlers out, and it was pretty like rough. I think some of those settlers to this day, quite a lot of them still don't have alternate housing, and it was like 15, 20 years ago. So
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's just, they're not going to remove that many at once again.
Okay. Damn. Well,
I think maybe
Israel-Palestine is pretty rough, huh?
Yeah. I think maybe the analogy you're going for sounds more like Rwanda. Do you know much about how that whole genocide like took place?
What do I know about Rwanda? The United States was involved in some conflict prior to that, I think in Northern Africa, and we did really poorly. And I think that people blamed that intervention later on us not intervening at all in Rwanda. That's the only thing I know about Rwanda. I barely know anything about it. Tell me, explain.
So it's an example of a historically oppressive group basically becoming the victims. The Tutsis were a minority, but they were also the wealthy, landowning oppressors. They were the monarchy. When the Belgians and the Germans were colonizing Rwanda, the Tutsis had positions in the colonial government. There was a narrative, a very false narrative put out that Tutsis were actually like more Northern Africans, so they were like racially superior and shit. So yeah, they had like every advantage possible. And the thing with when the occupation of Rwanda ended in the late 50s and early 60s, the result was that Hutus made up 80+% of the population, and as soon as they had democratic power, they used it to attack Tutsis, like straight away. Not even in the 90s. There was already Tutsis like fleeing or facing repercussions and all that shit. And then obviously in the 90s, the Hutus did the genocide, right? But I think, again, if someone asked you, does that mean that ending colonial rule or bringing like equal rights to in Rwanda. If someone ever said like, was that a bad decision? I would probably still lean with no. Like, what the problem was is that the colonial government that left didn't give a fuck about what happened to Tutsis afterwards.
Sure.
There weren't any protections put into place. There was no constitution that protected people from being kicked out of their houses and all that stuff. So I feel like when it comes to Israel and Palestine, because there are so many massive international actors involved in it, I think it would, even if I think Palestinians get like voting rights and they use those rights to clap Israelis, like I think the point is going to be that it won't be the fact that it won't be equality that did that. It'll be like the way it was actioned.
Sure.
Same with Rwanda or South Africa. Yeah.
And I can understand the abstracted moral argument, but I'm sure you can understand that the on the ground feelings are going to be a lot different, right? That, like, for instance, if I were to go to a casino and I were to bet my whole life savings on black and I win, you can tell me all day about how it was a bad bet, but emotionally it's probably not going to feel that way, right?
Yeah, and I think, I don't know, yeah, on the ground it's really hard to say, because you can even take what happens on the ground with Israel and Palestine and even make really optimistic claims, because despite everything that's happened, is like there are still lots of intertwined communities, especially along the north of Israel and along the northwestern coast, where there are Arabs and Jews who live side by side with like in relatively peaceful conditions. And this like kind of happens in Jerusalem as well in some parts. So yeah, I don't know. I just think
Jerusalem famously known for lack of conflict between Jews and Arabs. What's going on in Al Aqsa today? Yeah.
Yeah, it's more, like that's maybe a less good example. But
sure. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, and I would still say that that's why I don't think I could ever take the position that like we need to keep this group down, because on the off chance that they might fuck us back in the future. That's like the kind of position I find is that like the most untenable.
Yeah, I guess I figure it just seems that like because of the unique kind of Jewish history, it seems like if there's any group of people that could make that argument, it would be Jewish people, right? They have like 15 different holidays where it's like some group of people tried to genocide us and we lived and let's eat food. Like it feels like because of Jewish history, I could see them in particular being like, well, you know, we're going to go ahead and trust our gut on this one. Not that that necessarily morally justifies it or even empirically justifies it, but...
Do you know the blood libel baby joke from Middle Eastern Jews?
Nope, tell me.
It's a Middle Eastern Jewish joke about there's this like village, I think it's Syria or some shit, and they're like, oh no, fuck, like a baby's just been murdered, like they're gonna blame us because the baby was murdered for like some ritual, and they're gonna blame us, we're fucked, oh no. And then a few hours later they come back and it's like, oh shit, no, good news, the baby was actually Jewish. So there's not going to be blood libel repercussions. Yeah, they have a very grim sense of humor over there. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just thinking, like, if someone comes to you and says, like, "Oh, what do you think should happen?" and all that, I feel like a much more reasonable response would just be, like, even if there's no obvious solution, I feel like you could just say something like, "Yeah, the settlement expansion should probably stop. Israel should probably try to go back to being a bit more of a democracy with a court system," rather than saying. What you said on that panel,
which is Israel just continues expansions until Palestinians are basically it's just gone. How many Palestinians are there? Is it a few million?
Within Israel, Gaza, and West Bank, it's like 6-7 million, and then another 7 million in the diaspora.
What's the population? Diaspora means around the world or just around the Middle East?
Around the Middle East, around the world, but I think most of them are in the Middle East, like vast majority. Yeah.
How many Jewish people are there? Israeli Jewish citizens? Is it a few million?
6-7 million.
6-7 million. Oof, that's so rough.
I think there are slightly more Palestinians from the river to the sea right now than Israelis. They opened them like a couple of years ago because they have a lot of babies over there.
It sucks that the numbers don't work out in Israel. Like I feel like if there were 500,000 Palestinians, I think you could just say one state solution would be the best and then figure it out from there. But
nah, it's like probably 50 to 48 right now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, the numbers make it a lot rougher. I know. Okay. Well, anything else you want to add to this, or so Jewish people should probably chill on the West Bank settlements. Ideally, pull back the more controversial ones. I don't know where those are and then negotiate.
They're also scattered, yeah.
Yeah, and then try to negotiate some. I feel like carving out a real Palestinian country would be good. I don't know. Are there any countries on the map right now that look like what Palestine would look like?
What, empty bits of land? That
Just like little scattered bits of like chickenpox land on a map. Is there any country right now that looks like that?
Oh, I mean, this is what that's what they tried to give in South Africa. It was called Bantustan, and obviously the black South Africans were like, "Fucking kill yourself." Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
So I don't think so. I guess unless you count island networks.
There's unironically so much pressure for American Jews to go to Israel and preferably find a Jewish slash Israeli wife and settle down there. It's cringe. Yeah, I've heard that. That's always one of the funny things is the difference I hear between, I think I've talked about this on stream before, my Jewish friends and my Nazi friends. Is like every time I debate with Nazis, they talk about how much of an exclusive club Judaism is and that it's very, 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 very hard to convert and blah, blah, blah. And then in the United States, bro, when I talk to Jewish people or like quasi-Jewish people or half-Jewish people, the way that they talk about how aggressively Israel tries to like get people into like birthright shit, that we're like, if you're like 1/4 of a quarter or if you've got friends, they'll like let you go on these things to try to do like PR for Israel and get people to move down, that it feels like Israel's like really aggressively recruiting like anybody that's willing to convert and go down and live there, just because obviously having the numbers in the population and the foreign ties, you know, probably makes you look better or more legitimate, right?
Yeah, meanwhile, a Palestinian who lives in a refugee camp in Lebanon who can still see their old house is basically like not allowed to go back to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking mental. But yeah, that would be things as well, because I guess one of the reasons Israel survives so well in Western politics is because they're considered the only democracy in the Middle East. But again, like that expansionist wing of Israel is gambling with that reputation as well, because they're also very anti-democratic. Yeah. With the Supreme Court thing.
What is the Supreme Court thing you're referring to specifically?
Israeli Supreme Court is like their only checks and balance system, and they basically just got rid of it.
Don't they have like the Knesset or whatever? Don't they have like a parliamentary?
Knesset, yeah, but it's like so that's the parliament, but there's no check and balance outside of that other than they don't have 3 branches. They just have the Knesset and the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court's basically just been completely defanged. Yeah.
Sure. Having one branch would be bad. To be fair, I think don't most countries have like 2 kind of branches of government? I think the United States is relatively unique with all 3, aren't we?
I think it's more to do with depending on how constitutions work, you can probably get by with that, but
sure.
I didn't say they got rid of the Supreme Court. I said they were fucking being colloquial, your fucking chat, sorry.
Yeah. People are saying the UK has a parliamentary supremacy. Yeah, but like your presidents and everything, your prime ministers come from within your parliament and shit, and I don't think they have anywhere near as much power as our president of the United States. You guys are saying bicameral. I'm not talking. First of all, when you say a bicameral system is common, I'm not even sure if that's true, because in the UK, that system is barely bicameral. And also, like having a head of state, a president that's elected by the people and wields so much power, I think is relatively unique to the United States. I don't know how many other countries do direct elections of their presidents that stand so much in contrast to their parliamentary system. But I also don't know. I could be wrong on that. Maybe other countries don't. I know more about the UK system than others, but.
Yeah, a lot of it just depends on constitutional arrangements and shit like that. But yeah, as far as everyone who's not the Israeli right absolutely despises what they've done down there. So I'm gonna assume it's pretty bad. But yeah, I think that was. Yeah, I don't know. I think the reason I try not to go too strongly on any like very particular solution is just because as soon as one step gets made in whatever direction, everything else might change as well, right? Like,
yeah, that's the thing that sucks about.
Yeah,
that's why I hate when people do historical counterfactuals. People are like, oh, if Germany would have just done this, or if Russia would have just done this, or if the US would have just done this. It's like, if they just do that, then you can literally analyze that one decision and like half a step past, but then every other variable changes, and then who knows what world we're in next. It's really funny when people try to like plan out like 15 steps ahead of like a major, historically altering decision that somebody makes, So
I think the best way that I heard to look at it was we spoke more recently about who gets what land, and how do you morally decide who deserves what piece of land? And you kind of find out very quickly that's kind of impossible, right?
Yeah.
Like Israelis will say we get it because of the Israeli kingdom, and then Palestinians will say, well, there's a statute of limitations on refugee rights or being displaced or being indigenous. So where does that line end? Does it end for Palestinian refugees in 48? But a much easier way to look at it, rather than land or states or anything like that, is just like for me, like the issue with Palestinians and Israelis is fundamentally like human rights. There's like the right to not live under military occupation. There's the right to vote. There's the right to not be ethnically cleansed. There's the right, like refugee rights, to either reparations or restitution. So,
here's something I'm kind of curious about. So here's something I have a really hard time with. I have a really hard time.
Most parliaments have a House of Lords, which is like the Senate.
Stop. That is not true. The House of Lords.
There
in
is
the
a
United
relation
Kingdom
to
is
the
nothing like
spiritual
Senate in
magic
the
of
United
shamans
States.
and the natural magic
no,
of
it's
druids.
not.
Yeah.
This is why we shamans can
the
hear
United
the
States
plea
has
of
a
the spirits
true
of Stonetalon.
bicameral legislative
Many
body,
of their
and
whisperings
that
are lost
both
to me,
halves
but
have
one
big
message,
elections.
one
both
vision
halves
is
wield
clear. I saw a vision of
arguably equal
two
power. They
man-shaped
have the power to
machines
veto
in
it, at least
Windshire
when it comes to
Crag,
legislation. The Senate might have
northwest
a
of
bit
Great
more
Wood
power,
Vale,
but,
felling trees
the
with
House of Lords
impossible
is
speed.
not
These
even
metal
close.
beasts must be stopped. In my vision, the machines were marked with strange symbols. XT 4 and XT 9.
May your ancestors forever guard your path.
to an analog for the Senate in the United States of America. Here's a thing that I have a lot of problems with. I have a really hard time talking about morals or morality when it comes to other countries and other governments. I feel like things get absurdly complicated very quickly. So like, for instance, in the United, even like a basic one of, should you be allowed to do the Nazi salute in Germany, right? Like they say no. As a US citizen, I have a big allegiance to freedom of speech. That's an obvious yes to me. How do you reconcile those moral differences? That's a basic one, but like more complicated ones might be like styles of government. Like I would say in the US, I would say it would be immoral to abolish our Supreme Court, or immoral to roll our presidency into the legislative body, the executive and the legislative. But how do I make those same moral claims of other governances or countries, especially people of different religions or governing styles? Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I think for somewhere like Germany, you just have to. I feel like there is some kind of like universal morale, or you can just try to take what a country's doing, like Germany, and just look at what it means in their own terms. So with Germany, it's called militant democracy, basically. It's like in democracy, you have to curtail what other people might consider some freedoms to to keep fascism out. You can very quickly right now just look at the AfD vote in Germany and just be like, well, it failed. Look what's happening to you guys. Yeah, like your far right party has like more than 30% of the votes in quite a few parts of Germany right now. So
well, but like, is that really what you want to go on? Because like, for instance, like Hitler's party had popular approval, and they were able to. My understanding is democratically established the Enabling Act, which essentially became anti-democratic in the measures it was attempting to achieve. But does that make it good or bad? That was a conversation we had right before you joined stream, that like theoretically you could democratically throw away your democratic principles. Is that anti-democratic in and of itself?
You're probably not going to like this answer, but the Enabling Act wasn't like Germany was already not a democracy by the time the Enabling Act came. I think the first thing that they did that massively fucked the democratic system in Weimar Republic was two things. One is in 1932 when they abolished the Prussian Parliament, which was like the Papen coup, which basically meant the federal system was done, and that was like over. I think it was almost 50% of the population that made up. So yeah, that was like the big thing there. And also before that, they had do you know what Article 48 was?
That was only came after Article 47, right?
Yeah.
Article 48 allowed the president to declare a state of emergency in Germany in times of national danger and to rule as a dictator for short periods of time. Oh, so this is literally the I feel like I've seen this quote like in 50 different movies where they're like, did you know that in times of great peril outside the gates of Rome, they would declare one man to fight or to rule the city and blah, 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 right? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, so yeah, like that's the motherfucker that like everyone, the historians tend to agree was like the self-destruct button of Germany was Article 48.
But
and
like,
that was misused in the 1920s by social democrats. So,
sure, but then how do you also wait real quick? Are you an American? I keep forgetting this. I feel like you're in Scotland or some shit. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Wait, so you're not American. You're not in America or anything, right?
No.
Okay, you have a guitar though and everything, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
American instrument, yeah.
Weird. And you're in Scotland.
Crazy.
No. So like, for instance, in the United States, sorry, half of what I say is sarcastic. So like in the United States, for instance, our president has wide deference to declare national states of emergency to get things done. So Pisco was arguing the other day, for instance, that the president ought to be able to declare, because of another bill that was passed a long time ago, a national state of emergency in order to forgive, I think, student loan debt. Or Donald Trump declared a national state of emergency to ban 7 Muslim-majority countries from immigrating to the United States. And Donald Trump declared a state of emergency to send the military down to assist with like building his immigration wall. So like, arguably these are democratic measures because they're part of your constitution or they're democratically upheld, but then they can be used in like anti-democratic ways. So what is like, yeah, sorry, talk, go ahead.
I think there are probably just some, I don't know, it just feels like when it comes to different countries or different democracies that there are gray areas where we think like there are certain measures or certain things that are technically democratic but also not very, that leaders are allowed to do. But then there are some other ones that I think over history we've learned are a lot more non-negotiable. Like I don't think any state in any democracy in the world right now would reasonably bring back an Article 48, which means they can suppress like basically everything in the name of emergency.
Interesting.
So,
Because we also,
yeah.
even in the United States, where it seems to be that the United States is one of the freest countries in the world when it comes to freedom of speech. Now, maybe whistleblowers, blah, 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 but in terms of just like what's on our books and what our courts defend. However, my understanding is during World War II, we literally had like an office of censorship, and we literally didn't let news stations report on, say, like the weather during baseball games and stuff like that. That we were actively censoring parts of the news or things that people were saying. So, like, are these anti-democratic measures that shouldn't exist, or yeah? I'm just asking. I don't have strong feelings here, so yeah, I'm just curious. Yeah.
I actually have, I don't know how I can explain it like ethically, but it just seems to be the case that most countries have done this and been fine when it comes to war situations. This is kind of like when people were saying that Ukrainians should hold general elections because America did it in the Civil War, right? And I'm like,
Hey.
or that like Winston Churchill shouldn't have banned fascist newspapers in the Second World War.
Or for
But-
Ukraine, like cutting out some of the Russian language media or whatever, stuff like that, right?
Yeah, but I think it's fairly basic social contract to say that when a war happens, a couple of freedoms maybe need to go for a bit.
Yeah, but then you run into weird spots where in the United States, we've, especially with Iraq and Afghanistan, we were arguably at war for what, like 23 years?
Yeah. Yeah. And then it depends on the kind of war, because I think the Civil War argument was that they still had the capacity to have elections during the Civil War in America, whereas Ukraine, all the polling stations will just get bombed.
Sure.
So it's like,
Hi, what's up, buddy?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, hi.
Oh, hi, hello. Hello, Loaderbox, my favorite lefty, and, you know, Steven. Hello. Yeah, so I wanted to ask a little question. Sorry to interrupt you guys. I've been sent a weird little clip where you were talking on a panel with like a bunch of ladies, I think, and Loaderbox appeared to talk with you about like Palestine, and you said like this thing that basically Russia should kind of has Crimea because might makes right argument, and people showed it to me and I was like, doesn't sound like what Steven would say, so I wanted to ask
I think that the way that world politics plays out, as much as we talk about morality or foreign policy or whatever, that at the end of the day it kind of seems like whoever has the military and influence to assert whatever they assert, that essentially becomes the rules of whatever land there is. So for instance, like we can say that the invasion of Crimea was unethical, but the reality is Russia has essentially held Crimea unopposed for almost a decade now. Yeah.
And
that's it. That was the only statement I was making, right?
I see. But it's still like illegal in terms of like international law because it was recognized as Ukraine after 1991.
Yeah, but
when
law
we get
systems.
independence.
Yeah, but legality only matters insofar as you can adjudicate and then enforce action based on the legality, right? So arguably, this is one of the biggest complaints about the United States is that the United States might commit actions that some people would say, well, isn't this illegal? But then the question is, okay, well, what court is going to hear it, and then how are we going to enforce whatever?
I see. So you're basically making the argument like it's just how shit works, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Was your argument.
So this is why it's important
not that
for
it's
things
legal
like,
or moral.
yeah, like for NATO to exist or for the United States to intervene is because at the end of the day, whoever's got the bigger stick is essentially the one that's enforcing what happens around the world.
Yeah, that's how it works. I don't know why people are then commented that it's a awful some sort of comment you made, because that's how it works. But basically they were saying they're like a hypocrite, I guess, because they said, oh, you like support Ukraine and like I'll fight for to preserve our like state and everything, but you say like that Palestine should just get over it because Palestinians, I guess, because they're like the weaker party compared to Israel.
Well,
and,
I don't know if I would ever say, I'm talking from the perspective of Israel, but like I don't know if I would ever say like Palestinians ought to just get over it. Like I can understand why they would fight. Like I don't know if I would necessarily condemn Palestinians for fighting against Israel to hold on to their land, right? But I mean, I think you can probably have conflicts where this is kind of goes into what I was saying earlier, Lonerbox, in terms of like who's right or wrong. When you get to like these intergovernmental or inter-country fights, I can see there being arguably justifications on both sides to fight. Which gets into a weird world because it's nice to be able to say who's right or wrong, but I can see there being Like, I can understand Israel's perceived threat to their existence, to Jewish people's existence, and I can understand Palestinians saying, like, oh, okay, well, since the 40s, you guys were basically plopped here against our will, and now you've been fucking us the whole time, so fuck you. Like, I can see arguments on justifying both sides to fight each other, yeah.
Also, if I'm not wrong, that Palestine was not like internationally recognized in terms of like borders or like as a country, I presume, right? It's not like Ukraine was in 1901 when, you know, the borders were and the territories were, you know, distributed and everyone agreed to it, including Russia. So it's not exactly the same, I think, in that regard as well.
Maybe after World War I, was there a big land cutout for Palestine that was more or less recognized by everybody?
There was the UN partition in 47 where Palestine was a lot bigger than it is now. And then after 67, the UN agreed on those borders. So yeah, the current borders are like the West Bank and Gaza.
I feel like there have been agreed borders for Palestine. They've just slowly gotten cut up over time. But even when we talk about agreed borders, like for instance, I think it was after the dissolution of the Ottoman Empire, Turkey had borders that were recognized by, it wasn't the UN at that point, right? It was whatever came before that. And then Turkey was like, no, f you. And then they had a big rebellion and they fought. And then they got their country like, okay, these are our borders now. After they had their big revolution for that. So yeah, the League of Nations maybe, yeah.
After like World War I, there was like this principle of like ethnic majority, basically. So like territories go to the parts that are, you know, in Ukraine there was like a lot of Polish people, for example, in parts of the western parts of the country. So Galiciana, things like that. For example, Lviv, which is like the biggest, like the most important city in the West, it used to be like majority Polish. So in terms like of population, that's why it got to Poland, not Ukraine. Like, but interestingly enough, Polish made that claim that should be Polish because the majority there. But they also took Volyn region, which was majority Ukrainian, and the most people spoke Ukrainian. So, so it started like, yeah, we take this bit because it's mostly Polish people, and then we also take this bit because it's you know, just because just because we can. So yeah, there was that as well. This is also the place where Volyn massacre happened. One of the reasons why. So yeah, not that it makes it any better, you know, killing people, killing Polish people, but yeah.
Caves throughout this region. Exploring these caves can hold many adventures for those willing to risk life for glory. Adventurer, perhaps you seek riches that only following your heart and soul can garnish. Yes. That's it. The resonite crystals have a trace of earthen magic. The kobolds must have dug deep, uncovering an earthen. Legend states that the earthen are creatures created by the Titans. They were used to create the land our feet walk on. This most definitely is a threat that cannot be ignored. Perhaps I can enchant these ore samples to use against this kobold plot. You have uncovered a dark threat to the land, adventurer. The resonite cask you have found in that cave houses a slumbering earthen by the name of Gogorok. I have changed the mixture of the resonite crystals that you gathered with my shamanistic powers. Take the enchanted resonite crystal and smash open the resonite cask, which houses the earthen. When awakened, Gogorok will be weakened. Slay him, adventurer.
Yeah, but there was like a big tension there because majority was Ukrainian, and they felt like, you know, basically quite a lot of like repression there and bad treatment and things like that, which escalated, I guess, in World War II. Yeah, well, I mean, I wanted to debate, but there's nothing to debate.
Sure.
You made a point, and it was kind of correct, although not pleasant.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Hey now! It's your boy PSA Sage here with another Tuesday show with everyone's favorite, the guy who said he wasn't going to play harmonica on Tuesday, but I tricked him because he forgot. Adam Friend.
Oh, man. I thought, okay, it's only on Sunday that we do harmonica.
Gotcha!
Let's start the stream over.
Everyone's
Pretend you didn't hear that.
Everyone likes, I said you should do it on Tuesdays, and you're like, no, only Sunday. Gotcha!
The Sunday show is a very special show now.
It's so much better. It feels so different.
I know, it is. Look, I think I'm getting better, too.
Yes.
that was a long silence. What are we talking about today? Oh, nothing.
Today we are watching, oh my gosh, Ethan Klein and Hassan get into another big argument on the show because Hassan simps for socialist China once again. And Ethan's like, bro, even I have my limits. You need to stop. You need to stop. Okay.
We would never fight on our show. Our show is a perfect picture of harmony.
Never.
It's all hearts and unicorns and rainbows around here.
Traditions are important. That's true. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And then after that, we have to read a bunch of super chats, and then maybe, if we have time, Adam wants to argue MMT with some people.
Are we good? Look, let me check here first.
Yeah.
I want to see. Because Mr. Ubercross was going to call in, and I didn't see when he was going to do that. I want to look at that first. Read a couple super chats. Why don't you jump on that?
No.
Get our super chat job over with.
Andrew Clark for 15 months says, it's been decided that if there's a split, we'll be living not at either Adam, Sitch, nor Doomer, but rather at CT. That said, a team reigns supreme. Wow, I don't think CT is aware of that, but good for her. She'll take you all in. There you go. And Lucy Lemonbug, thanks so much, Lucy Lemonbug, for $20. Thank you so much. Even though you're a dirty, dirty sticker, says, hi, Adam.
Chopper.
Hi, Adam.
Hi. Hi, Lucy. How you doing? Thanks for the super chat.
And Blaine the Skateboard for $2, who we talked to on Sunday, said, as an evil landlord, I thank Ethan for his defense. There you go. Base. Okay, you ready, Adam? Bring up the video.
No, look, Mr. Ubercross sends me a bunch of times.
Yeah.
He could be anywhere in the world.
Well, listen, we'll watch the video. If he's around and shows up, you know, so be it. If not, then
Right, but look, I just want to be respectful of our guests' time.
No. They have to be respectful of our time. Okay?
Look, if I don't want to start some video project.
People. Okay.
Are we really?
Yes. Okay. Anyway, bring it up. Bring up the video. Let's do this.
I think Ostracy might come on too. He sent me a bunch of DM questions about MMT. I said, you want to come on stream today and ask these? And he said, sure, if you think they're stream-worthy questions. And I said, they aren't, but it'll be fun.
Wow, mean. Oh my gosh.
Look, come on, that's fun. That was a fun little ribbing there.
Oofa.
Look, they could be great questions, but I got to tell you, it's like a wall of text, and you know me and reading.
Yeah, you got to send Adam like very tiny little blocks of text, like.
Not true. Adam has a reader on his computer.
Oh, then what are you complaining about?
Look, I believe that I read this wall of text once, but I just was like, oh, there's a lot to answer here. And I'm great at having my computer read me wall of text. I'm not great at typing wall of text out back.
Right.
So it's a lot easier for me just to talk. All right, let me see if we actually have a... Are we out of super chats? There's nothing to read. I feel like there's
let's watch the video, okay? Stop looking for Mr. Ubercross. Bring up the video, and we'll start watching.
Look, I'm working on it.
Okay. Jeez.
I didn't realize we were gonna get straight into the video. I thought we were
Has-
kind of gonna horse around a little
No,
bit.
we never do that. Has Sitch been angrier lately, meaner, or is it just me? You know what? I think you're
It's-
right. I have been angrier lately, and I've been
it's-
trying not to.
Look, it's not just you; it's
go
all
back.
of us.
I've been trying to go back to being more calm, Sitch. More relaxed, Sitch.
I was listening back. Sitch and I did a little debate on identity politics at the end of our stream. And it's funny, I always think, you listen, you're feeling the stream as you're doing it. And I always think, wow, I did a really terrible job there. But I listen back and man, I destroyed you. It wasn't even close.
You want to have a poll? You want to have a poll on that one?
It was utter,
Buddy.
it was complete annihilation.
You want to open a poll on that one? I don't think you'll be happy with the results, but okay.
I don't think you'll be happy with the result. You sound just like the guy from Super Jail. Which one is that? You know who I'm talking about? The Super Jail guy?
No, I
You
don't.
want to put up a poll? I don't think you'll be happy with the results.
The twin? One of the twins?
That sounded exactly like the Super Jail guys.
Are you talking about the twins?
Yeah, I think it is the twins. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
They
yes.
had like the crazy
Oh
technology.
yes. Yeah.
I don't remember what they sound like.
They sounded exactly like you putting
Well,
your
there
poll
you
up.
go. You want to put up a poll, Adam?
Look, people are gonna vote against me in the poll just because I was totally narcissistic about it.
Sure.
They
sure,
are.
Sure.
They're gonna vote against me just because I was incorrigible.
No, I am not pro idpol. It was the opposite. Adam was pro idpol.
No, I was against identity politics. Sitch was mad because identity politics is actually defined in a way that he's in favor of.
No, Adam was trying to accept Francis Fukuyama's weird definition of identity politics, which makes it sound good, and I'm trying to adopt James Lindsay's definition of identity politics, which I believe is actually the origin point of the term. That was
Which
the
is
disagreement.
completely meaningless, obviously.
There you go.
Look,
Andrew
if-
Clark Joe says, "Kid up mapped your last debate/argument." Wow, really? That was fast.
which one was it?
Was
Was
that
it
the
the
IPPO one?
identity politics one? Kidda. Doing the
Jeez,
Lord's
Kidda.
work here.
Oh my god. Who won, Kidda?
I thought
Who
Kidda
won?
was on that stream.
She was on that stream.
Kidda came in.
She did.
Look, Kidda came in. We kicked everyone out and started fighting immediately.
Well, okay. To be real, you started fighting with me. I was like just trying to read super chats, and you're like, "Let me start a big fight with Sitch
Not-
for no reason at 3 o'clock in the morning."
Not true. Not true.
True.
Look, I was trying to explain to Sitch
Yeah.
how identity politics works.
Okay.
And Sitch just got major aggro over it.
Uh-huh.
Could not take it.
They can't join our.
You're the ones that started that fight.
Oh,
man.
there it is. Kidda says Sitch won. Sorry, Adam. Laugh crying emoji. I got
We
him.
might have to pull that wrench. Get us out of control
Never.
here.
Never. That wrench is protected.
See, I knew Kid is only saying that because I was so ornery about it. Because I was.
She
I
did
was
it. She did
completely-
a breakdown of it. So, I'm assuming she's used facts in it.
Let's hold on. Where's the
Charging.
Kidda? Did you really do a breakdown of it? I want to see the breakdown. I listened back and it seemed pretty obvious that I utterly destroyed Sitch.
Uh-huh.
Like he didn't even know the difference between isothermia and megalothermia. It's true. Why are you laughing?
Oh yeah, these are the very important things. You know the difference between these two big words that no one's ever heard of ever.
What are you talking about? Social
Like, no, I
psychologists,
don't. Sorry. Jeez.
sociologists know what they are.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good for them. Neither of us are sociologists.
Yeah, but look, you don't think they talk about identity politics and political science and
No.
sociology?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Okay. Look, I'm supposed to be pulling up the watch together, but
Yeah, I
can't-
know. Jeez, what's going on here?
Gotta take the wormy cam off.
Waiting
Wait a second.
forever.
Why not?
God, so unprofessional. Losing in debates. Not bringing up the watch together. Come on.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. That was a great stream. We actually
It was.
got close to the 12-hour mark,
It was a very good stream.
which is always funny.
Yes,
I think we had 7 or 8 guests on at once.
we did.
It was pretty crazy. We kept inviting people on, more and more people.
Well, it's funny because like there are a bunch of people that actually DM me to come on, and I'm like, I'm not gonna invite any more people on because we're trying to wrap it up. And then Adam's
then
like,
I-
just keeps inviting people on, and that makes me look bad. I'm like, oh god.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm like, all right, jeez.
Huh. Well, no one was DMing me. I was just inviting people. I was
Yeah,
DMing
okay.
them.
Okay.
Come on. Kid is great.
Fletcher.
So's,
Well, I mean, I'm not.
So
gonna
Sammy
invite Kidda,
G.
obviously. Yeah, of course.
Look, all I invited was Kidda and Sammy G. Well, I guess I invited Shady too, but you sent him the link.
Yeah, no, Shady was cool. Everyone that came on was cool. I don't regret anyone coming on. It's not,
Of course.
Don't take it that way. Fletcho McTaggy for 20 Canadian says Emma Vigeland is a trust fund baby. Her parents are 2 former U.S. attorneys. Why does she have a leftist audience at all? I mean, I feel like that's true for almost all the socialists, is that they are all grew up kind of well off, and they want, you know, the government to essentially replace their parents. I mean, I know that's a stereotype, but I think it's a stereotype for a reason.
That's hilarious.
It feels true. It feels true. That means it is true. Right? That's how that
Oh
works.
yeah.
So,
I tried not to say that. People
There
get
was, yeah.
super triggered when you say it. Feels correct, or I feel
Well,
like what you're saying is anytime you
part of the-
say feel, you open yourself up to an attack.
I'm doing it as a joke.
No, don't,
That
there's
is the
no
joke.
joking on the comedy
So,
show.
so Brianna Wu tweeted out today, there's no political...
How do you know Brianna Wu treated the... Look, that was aimed at you, wasn't it?
Well, it's funny. She said, I have literally no clue who she was subtweeting with this. I have no clue. She said, there's no political viewpoint intellectually lazier than centrism.
Right.
Just decide everyone that disagrees with you is too partisan to see the light. It's politically lazy too, because you don't have to do anything, just crap on everyone who tries to pass policy. And so I responded to this saying,
Oh, you responded too.
I did. I
Nice.
responded saying, everyone that disagrees with me is too partisan and tribal, though.
Nice. Did you get a response?
No.
Oh,
Nothing.
okay.
So there
I
you go.
responded and I got a response.
Yeah, but you had a real response. I had a meme, but also a true response.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I just look.
You bear good news.
Partisanship
I fear
is
the possibilities
designed
of what an earthen would mean
for
to
you to
Kalimdor.
turn your brain off.
Slaying Gogorok was a task for no one less than a hero. You have done well. All of Stonetalon and Kalimdor are indebted to you, noble adventurer. Accept this as your reward, most honored one.
So I look. I don't understand how you can
Yeah,
say
it's-
something.
Yeah, the argument doesn't even. Yeah, exactly. The argument doesn't make any sense at all whatsoever, because it's like, first of all, I don't even know who she's talking about, because who is a person that labels themselves as centrist and all they do is crap on everyone else as they try to pass policy? Because it sounds like she's like talking about like the person, like Medicare, like a Medicare-ish person who's like, I'm just a troll who sits in the middle and criticizes everyone. And I'm like, I mean, who operates in that space? I don't even know who she's talking about.
Sorry, I just was.
Don't worry about it.
Say again. No.
No, she said that they're just lazy people who crap on everyone who tries to pass policy. And I don't even know who is that? Who is she even referring to? Who just sits around in the middle saying, you all suck. I'm going to insult everyone that tries to pass policy. Like, I literally no clue who she's even referring to.
You mean me, the guy who wants to pass a policy for a 3-day work week?
Everyone wants to pass policies. All the people that are supposedly enlightened centrist all have pretty clear positions and policies they advocate for. So I don't even know who she's referring to. It was a weird tweet. I thought it was a bizarre tweet. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Hold on. Read some more super chats. I think there's like a miscommunication.
Right.
Well, no, I reached out to Not So Erudite about possibly coming on. And
today?
well, it was today, but this was like a few days ago, and I guess she's in the middle of a move or something, so she just responded to me.
Oh.
And it looks like she thought that she was coming on, but I was like thinking we would just do it some other time. But
Okay. Sounds good.
But do you want me to just invite her on?
I don't know. What are we going to talk about?
Well, she can watch the video with us. She's probably got some crazy perspective.
Yeah, I mean, you can ask her if you can tell her what we're going to watch and ask her if she wants to come on or come on some other time.
You want to read some super chats while I work it out?
I will.
or-
I will. I'm just saying, you can put the ball in her court.
Are we going to cut this out, I guess, and post it as a...
I don't know. We'll find out. We'll figure it out.
Right.
Don't worry about it. You
Okay,
just
let me
deal with it.
let me respond to her.
Okay, you respond.
Ostracy says, rude.
Yeah, take Ostracy, throw him in the trash can. Okay.
Well, look,
what's your-
I can't. Got to translate these times too. The hell time?
I know.
What the hell time did Mr. Ubercross send here?
What's your first thought for 5 Canadian? Says, hey guys, hope you're having a great day. Are you guys considering doing a One Piece review? I mean, no, I wasn't really considering it. Thought it was a fun, silly show to watch to turn your brain off. I don't know if I've not watched enough of the anime. I thought I watched a couple of the first episodes of the anime, found it really boring. I haven't really read the manga, so that's right, the manga. But I don't really have much to say about it. Just, if you want a fun action adventure show, turn your brain off, watch it. Check out One Piece, I guess. Jesse Carrillo for 7 months says, good afternoon, Stitch and Adam. Can you guys go over the Vosh Andrew Wilson debate that happened a couple days ago? I can check it out. I haven't seen it yet.
Who did what?
Vosh and Andrew Wilson had a debate on Christian nationalism.
Why? Look, why would we want to look?
Well, okay.
Why would we want to cover that?
That sounds awful. It sounds like we're gonna have to agree with Vosh.
Yeah. Look, I
don't
can't
wanna agree
stand
with Vosh.
Vosh. Yeah, and I can't stand Christian nationalism. Like, what?
Right.
I think Sitch and I are done doing debates where there's 0 people we can root for in the debate. It's just like bad content.
Yeah, people don't like watching it. You don't like watching it.
Somebody wants to, like, somebody's on those people's sides.
Right.
And we're just crapping on everyone.
That's right, and they deserve it. I mean, what?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
What you said the first time.
Andy Parker Jr. says, Kidda saves her maps, bring her on. Be careful when you use that word, Andrew. Okay.
Yeah, what are you doing?
It can mean a lot of different things now.
Hold on.
2023.
Everything's being thrown at me at once. Did Kidda ever give a response on whether or not she
did.
What? So
She
it
mapped
was
the conversation, yeah.
the one that we just had?
Yes, the one we just had, yes. She's
I
quick.
love you. I love you, Kidda.
Yeah, man, she's on top of this stuff. She's-
Look, how could you say that I lost?
Soothed many of the spirits of Stonetalon, adventurer. With their loss, let us hope the venture company will remove itself from these mountains. For if they do not, then I fear the atrocities this place has suffered will pale to what lies ahead.
That's just factually incorrect.
Because Kidda is based and true-pilled. That's why. It's very
Yes.
obvious that I destroyed
Remember
you
what?
in that conversation.
Remember what I said about tainting the audience to new ideas? That still holds.
Oh, okay.
That still holds true to this conversation.
Wow, so you're like, Kidda is nitpicky and biased. Bye-bye.
True.
Wow, look at this guy. Okay. Jeez. Let's see, where was I? Oh, Jesse, you asked twice about the Andrew Wilson. Well, listen, I'll watch it. I'll watch it, Jesse. I'll give it a shot, but I don't have not holding positive hopes for it. If I'm assuming Andrew, I don't know. I've not really listened to Andrew Wilson's content. I'm assuming he's the one debating in favor of Christian nationalism, and Vosh is debating against it, which I don't know if I really want to watch that. J-Mac for $20. Thank you so much, our surrogate father, J-Mac. Says, now that you've been exposed to it extensively, come play hardcore WoW with me, Adam. Join the female Tauren representation. Honestly, I had a great time on You Guys Rock. Well, we loved talking to you as always, J-Mac.
Yeah, it's awesome. Love
You
having
You know what? That would actually be really funny if like Adam's first foray into ever playing a Morpurger is to play hardcore WoW, where if you die once, your character gets deleted.
I mean, wouldn't I be spending a lot of time making a character then?
Thank you.
Just to have it killed?
Yes.
Seems like I might want to work up to something like that.
It's gonna be like Adam dies at level 3 to like a fucking deer, like nibbling on his shin.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing.
That would be cool.
That would actually be hilarious content. Would be total noob plays WoW for the first time hardcore mode. How long can they last? It's just like 2 hours of Adam dying at like in the starting zone.
Should I just send Erudite a link and we can just watch the video and she can come in or not come in?
You can ask her. You can say we're gonna watch this video. If she's interested, she can join us.
Well, I did that obviously, but like, who knows when she's gonna respond? And
Right. Sure, I guess. Listen, we're cool guys. We'll play it by ear. Right.
yeah, of course. Well, I originally asked her about coming on to talk about. Oh, look, here she is. You read super chats.
Okay. Oh, I thought you meant she was joining the Zoom call. Okay. CT for 2 Canadians says Adam only invited 2. Guess I'm S class this week. Bam. True. And base CT. Jesse Carrillo for 2 hours says you should watch that debate for the last. We'll see. I'll listen. I'll give it a shot. I don't have confidence, but I will give it I'll give it a chance. Okay. Give it a good fashion chance. Okay.
All right, she says she's gonna be busy for an hour, so let's work on the video.
Let's do the video.
I said we're streaming for a few hours. Hit us up later.
Perfect.
Boom. Let's go.
Okay.
Like that's like.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, I don't.
What? What?
Look, are we not going to do an intro? Is CT going to cut this out into a video or what?
You are always welcome.
Is she?
You got to say CT.
Or is this just a stream? This is just a Tuesday stream.
Oh, okay. We'll just leave it up. I don't care.
Yeah.
No one will ever find it, but.
What? We'll put a time code, okay?
Like that. He said he wants to preempt a war against China.
He wants to like fight against China, but he also kind of wants to like leave Taiwan to China. It's like very weird. He has like a very weird foreign policy perspective on it.
Right.
The obviously like xenophobic, anti-Chinese perspective is like shared commonly by the.
Who is he? Who are we talking about here? Xi Jinping?
That's a good question, actually. I don't know.
Yeah, what the hell is going on here?
I just went to where it said the conversation started. So you can blame the time code people at leftovers for this.
Look, I know how these time codes work.
Let's go back a little bit. We'll find out what's going on here.
Doesn't Ramaswamy also want to ban TikTok?
Okay, so it's Ram.
Hey,
Yeah, I'm talking about Vivek.
It's Vivek.
Vivek.
Oh
as you like to
man,
call him, yeah.
everyone's gonna. Our audience loves Vivek, man.
They shouldn't.
We did one stream on Vivek, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, you guys are treating Vivek so unfairly, so
Yes.
bad faith,
I
bad faith
know.
about everything."
I know, so bad faith.
Look, he wants to raise the voting age to like 40. Of course, I don't like that guy.
Right. Doesn't Hassan look weird? Extra
Why
weird
would
in
I
this clip?
like that guy?
Is it just me?
Hassan's not on
I'm a
the
fan of
screen
that.
for me, so okay.
Doesn't he look weird? Like weirder than normal? I don't know what's going on here. Like he looks
It looks
different.
like he's shaved and he's got a haircut.
His head just looks, his face, it just looks different. I don't know what's happening here. Am I like, am I crazy, chat? Does his face look completely different than I'm used to seeing it? Maybe it's just because I'm used to seeing that angle, that specific angle from his live stream.
Oh, that might be it. Yeah, this is a completely different angle.
This is not a flattering angle. Okay. Ethan is screwing with him.
He's like, let's do the up the nose shot today when he talks about how much he loves communist China.
Yeah.
We'll show him. Give me the good shot.
Yes.
Give me the handsome, charismatic shot. And give him the shot that makes him look like a Russian troll.
He looks extra nerdy for some reason.
All right.
I think
Okay, well, now I'm voting for him.
I think he's
I'm voting illegally for Ramaswamy and RFK Jr. Both of the guys that you showed.
his big thing is he's extremely hawkish on China, right? Like that's like the foreign
Yeah, I
policy
don't like
corner
that.
He said he wants
he's,
to preempt a war against China.
He wants to like fight against China, but he also kind of wants to like leave Taiwan to China. It's like very weird. He has like a very weird foreign policy perspective on it.
Right.
So Vivek does have a weird position on China. It's essentially he wants to protect Taiwan, but he doesn't. But he knows that the Trump base is isolationist, so he's trying to say like, well, we're only going to protect Taiwan until we can manufacture the supercomputer chips that Taiwan makes, and then China can take over Taiwan. That's essentially his argument, but it sounds kind of like a fake argument, more like, oh, I'm just saying this because honestly, we probably will not catch up to whatever the chip manufacturing that Taiwan is doing in America. So it's
We
just kind of
already
like
have
an
that
excuse.
chip manufacturing in America. What are you talking about?
If that's the case, then why is he even making that argument? He would just say, we'll give up Taiwan to China.
Yeah. Good question.
So that's
Well,
what I'm saying.
I know that we have chip manufacturers in America that are
Obviously, we
comparable to
be
Taiwanese chip manufacturing.
well, regardless of whatever the reality is, I'm saying the way he's framing the question makes it, or the answer makes it sound like to me, he's like trying to sort of soft walk the isolationist into defending Taiwan. That's
No,
what
I
how it reads to me.
completely agree with you on that point.
Gotcha.
I just, the whole idea, we put sanctions in place to keep China from getting these high-level chips that they're using in AI development.
Right.
Now, I'm not sure if Taiwan can make those high-level chips. Like, there's these different levels of chip manufacturing that go towards different tasks. There's like really puny chips that go in like your calculator or some Seiko watch or something, really minuscule stuff. China can manufacture all of those chips. Like China was able to copy one of the like second tier higher level chips. Not the top tier chips, but the second level. And evidently they did a really bad job of even copying it. So I don't know that China really has that technology. And since we're worried, like we're in an arms race with AI right now, we're kind of like, we don't want China to have access to all this hardware because the AI problem is kind of a software problem. So we're just kind of saying you can't have the hardware to even play around with the software advancements because we want to keep you out of our business. Which
Okay, so
I think is smart, right?
Right. So you're kind of like half right. So America created the super awesome chips in the first place. They're all
Yes.
designed in America.
Right.
And U.S. companies produce them, and U.S. companies produce these very special tools required to produce them. However, Taiwan makes the majority of the actual chips by far. It says that Taiwan produces 60% of the world's semiconductors and 90% of the world's advanced chips.
Right. So as I am 100%
So we could theoretically
completely,
like ramp it up. Yeah.
as I am 100% completely accurate in what I said,
Okay.
that America does manufacture those chips here.
Right.
But we only manufacture 10% of them.
Yes.
We could ramp up manufacture. It's not outside of our possibility.
Sure.
We already produce 10% of them here.
Right.
But we're producing them over there probably because of the cheaper labor. Let's be honest, right?
Right.
So, look, the way that it was worded before was, Taiwan, we're basically at the whim of Taiwan.
Right.
Like, look, we aren't.
Yeah.
We're
It's more like the rest
using
of the world
Taiwan for
is.
cheap labor because we're getting a good deal, right? They're doing 90% of the manufacture. We could near shore or reshore or whatever you want to call it back to the United States. That's a possibility for us. But what we really want to avoid is we don't want China getting 1% of any of those chips.
No, and it's like, and they use them all for these AI chips in the most Orwellian way possible, with all this like face reading camera
Yes!
technology that tracks every person's movement forever. I mean, they're like it's like almost like Minority Report over there in China.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. When
Pretty
people
crazy.
look, this bugged me about that Jackson Hinkle thing on Timcast IRL. like Jackson Hinkle was talking about how China was about to pass us in economic ability, and I was like, no. Like, what are you talking about? What?
Yeah, these people are like,
Where'd you hear that? Are you reading the CCP's Twitter feed or something?
yes.
It's just ridiculous.
Yes.
Yeah, we just had a giant chip embargo on them, or I don't know, is embargo the right word? Sanctions, whatever. We're just keeping them from getting our high-level chips. It's not like they're about to pass us economically.
No.
Yeah.
The obvious xenophobic, anti-Chinese perspective is like shared commonly by the entire intelligence community, our State Department. Obviously, it's like American policy, but the whole like leave Taiwan, or first leave Taiwan alone and then give them all guns. Like make Taiwan like America, where every person in Taiwan has a weapon.
How do we feel?
Isn't that based? What's the problem with that?
Yeah, look at
Like what?
Sitch is like working for the NRA now. It's crazy.
Well, no. This is like, okay. This is such a horrible. I mean, it shouldn't be surprising. Hassan, who's forever married to the America Badlands. It's like, well, the American intelligence community doesn't like China, so I guess I have to like China or something. It's like, well, no, I mean, we don't like China for really good reasons. They're the closest to a 1984 Orwellian horrible state that is currently committing genocide right now, and is one of the most imperialistic expansionist powers in the world that like is a global power. And it's really bizarre that all these people that complain and whine and cry about human rights violations and imperialism don't care because China's communist. So I guess I guess that makes it okay.
Yeah.
Or we have to at least be soft on it to some extent.
Yeah, it's completely ridiculous.
Right.
China is an authoritarian regime. Like,
yes,
they don't have free speech in China. It's bizarre to me when they come out and talk about Xi Jinping's or Putin's approval rating. Look, they both have 99% approval rating. It's like, look, in a country where they can literally disappear you in the middle of the night and execute you, how are you going to answer polls about your leadership? Are you going to say, no, Putin, suck my dick? No.
Probably not. No.
Yeah. You're not going to say that.
Well,
You're not even going to think it.
How is, Hassan, who's supposed to be woke feminist, okay, fighting for the rights of the oppressed women's and minorities. Not only is there a minority being genocided over there in China, but remember there's that very famous case. There was the famous female. Was she an athlete or a singer? I don't remember. She was a tennis person, right? Very famous Chinese athlete who accused a high-up person in the Communist Party of sexually assaulting her. And she did this publicly, and then she just like magically disappears for 2 weeks.
Right.
No one's heard of her. And then she comes back and she's like, oh, ha ha ha, it was just a misunderstanding, no problems. And it's like, okay, wow, I wonder what happened there. And then we have these people who are supposed to be all like strong feminists defending this insane, like everything they say is bad about America, that we live in this racist patriarchy. None of it's true in America, but it's all literally true in China.
Of course, yeah. Look, she just had a little re-education, sis.
Yeah.
She had a little 2-week re-education.
Can you imagine if imagine if some woman accused Donald Trump Jr. or just let's say this, the woman that was accusing Donald Trump of rape, right? Imagine if she just disappeared for 2 weeks and then comes back and she's like, oh, just a mistake. Yeah, and you think Hassan's gonna be like, oh, it was fine.
Drop all charges.
Yeah, right. Like, come on.
Of course not. Look, he likes the fact that China is communist. He wants to think socialism works. He wants to believe it's an amazing place to live because communism good, America bad. That's exactly what's going on.
But that's
here.
how you know it's like the NPC brain is basically controlling his thoughts, because it's that, and it's just the fact that America bad. Since America bad, America don't like China. I must not have the same opinion as America. Like, that's the thought process that's governing Hassan's programming.
Is Ethan gonna let him get away with this crap?
No.
Ethan loves America, right?
I mean, more than Hassan does.
Like, just a little bit more or a lot?
I don't know. It's a good question. Listen, sometimes It's funny because sometimes the old Ethan peeks out. Like, the
Oh,
old
I miss
Ethan
the old
peeks out.
Ethan.
I know. He's like,
I
he
miss
can only,
Vape Nation Ethan.
he can only take the leftist gobbledygook garbage for like at a point, and then he's like, no, you pushed me far enough.
Come back to us, Ethan.
What about Taiwan, Hassan? China or not
Taiwan?
China? Or is it China or not China?
That's the American policy. Whatever the American
your
policy is, whatever the American
What's
perspective
your
is.
opinion? You really won't say?
No, I'm saying it's like one country, two systems.
I like that. So he's like, what's your opinion on it? What's the American? No. What is your opinion on it? Well, see, no. What is your opinion on it, Hassan? Answer the question.
Is this a conflict between Hassan and his side hustle? I feel like maybe it is.
What's his side hustle?
Well, he's a big Twitch streamer, right? Like he's a commie Twitch streamer. So
yes, it's a
he
conflict
goes-
between America bad. Yeah.
well, no, he goes on The Leftovers, and Ethan wants him to take positions and stuff like that, but he can't take positions that are going to interfere with his communist side hustle.
Yeah. Don't be a coward, Hassan.
Ethan is like, what? You're not going to take a position here? What are you, a commie? A commie? Are you a commie or a commie sympathizer?
You know?
No, it's not. Two different countries.
Really?
Taiwan and China.
Is that according to American foreign policy?
No, what's your opinion? What's your opinion? Taiwan independent?
Are they putting a drum roll in there?
No, it's like this weird. I don't know what it is. It's like someone's mic keeps turning on when no one's talking into it, so you just hear this like.
I feel like it's a drum roll that Hassan is actually going to answer a question here. Here it comes.
I mean, that's
Here
pretty
it
funny.
comes.
That was the case.
He's going to answer it. No, he doesn't answer it again. Another dodge.
My opinion on Taiwan is that Taiwan is the Chinese concept of Taiwan should remain in the hands of the people in Taiwan who
So therefore
believe
it's independent.
who for the record, for the most part, just believe to not disrupt the ongoing relations with.
Why are you being so carefully footed around
Because I know that there's going to be.
Oh, God, I love this. I love this. I've never seen this. I've heard people talking about it, but I've never seen it.
Like, what does that even mean? I think Taiwan should be the Chinese concept of Taiwan that the Taiwanese people think they are. What does that even mean?
Bitch, why are you pussyfooting around here?
Is Hassan getting paid by China? Why is he pussyfooting around this? Because usually even the socialists on leftist spaces, they're not. I mean, most of them aren't tankies. Most of them are reasonably okay with some critique of China.
Subreddit, there's gonna be a subreddit post with like a million fucking comments being like, Hassan wants everyone in Taiwan to be killed because he loves China.
True. Oh wait.
He's a Xi Jinping.
That's what I heard.
That's what I just. It's already over. You asked me that question, like in jest, and it's gonna.
No, I was genuinely curious what you think about it.
I think that overall, it's contemporary history is complex. At the end of the day,
Contemporary history is complex.
Yeah.
What
Can
the
you
fuck
imagine?
does that even mean?
Can you imagine that you're a person who, like, some of your primary content is political content, and someone asks you a question about, like, a very current question, and you just kind of, like, blankly stare at them for, like, 5 seconds, and then you give this long, rambling answer, like, well, contemporary history is complex, you see.
Contemporary. Characteristics of the present.
Yeah,
belonging to
contemporary.
the present time.
Yeah.
Occurring
contemporary
in the
history.
same time, in the same
Yeah.
period of time.
Also known as current events. Yeah, current
I
events are
know.
complex.
That's like.
Yeah, I know.
That's
Thank
why I'm
you.
like, what the fuck does he even mean? Contemporary history is what?
It's a way to make.
What the fuck is contemporary history? Is it
It's a wa-
history or is it contemporary?
No, it's a way to make it sound like there's some current events issue that he doesn't really want to talk about. It doesn't want to take a strong stance on. But if he just says like, well, I don't want to talk about current events, well, that's not true, right? So you have to like make up a term like contemporary history.
Make it stop. Sid. What? Just spit it out already.
Yes.
Spit it out. Do you want the Taiwanese people to be slaves to these commies? Or what? That's what he wants. That's why he can't say it. Ah, it's so weird. It's so weak. Look, they'll be in America saying, look, democracy, it's the best thing ever. We're on the verge of fascism. This is the end of democracy. But in Taiwan, if the commies want Taiwan back, then, oh, yep, democracy gone. Sorry.
Yeah, there's really no excuse for him stumbling on this at all.
Of course not. Yes. Well, it is cognitive dissonance because it's like he likes communism. So
yeah.
The mainland China is obviously communist. And he likes democracy, which Taiwan is a democracy. He's like, oh, no.
They usually do the move where they say, well, China is not really communism. It's state capitalism. And yet,
do they?
Yes. So, but then if that's
then
the
why
case,
simp so hard?
Exactly.
That makes no sense.
I know. It's almost like a contradiction.
Yeah. Work it out.
If the Taiwanese citizens would ever put this up for a vote and we're like, we want to fucking be an independent nation, it's up to them. You know what I mean?
They already
You can't.
done that?
No.
There's no.
No, what Hassan said is true from everything I've read. That most people in Taiwan nowadays support just keeping the status quo, like the kind of.
But they're
strategic ambiguity of what.
You know what the status quo is right now? Do you know what the status quo is right now? Hey,
yeah.
Hey, do you know what the status quo is right now? The status quo is right now that Taiwan's an independent fucking country. You simps, you cucks, stop with the bullshit.
Yeah, they don't want to reunify. I watched a bunch of videos on this because we did a live stream. I don't know if you remember, but quite some time ago.
Yeah.
And it's a super interesting backstory on China and Taiwan, because I guess when the communists took over, the aristocrats, the monarchy fled China to Taiwan,
right,
and took over Taiwan, and they said, look, one day we will take the mainland back again from the communists.
Right.
And that one day never came. The monarch fell. They became a democracy. All these different things happened, and Taiwan is like chugging along.
Yep.
But there's this unsettled business, right? There's this, we will take the mainland back one day. And in China, they're like, we will take Taiwan back one day.
Right.
So, but they've kind of become two independent nations.
Yeah. Well,
all that controversy.
This is a total BS dodge, because I mean, at least to my knowledge, you know, I'll sit here and say, base Taiwan take over China, right? But I understand that's not real. That's not going to happen. You know, at least you know, anytime soon. And no one is really advocating in politics for Taiwan to take over China. Everyone's, you know, advocating for, at least the non-tankies are advocating for them to remain two separate countries and not to have a war. And so this whole like, you know, oh well, they just want to keep everything the same. Yeah, that means to keep Taiwan independent. If that means that China likes to pretend and play a little game where they say, oh no, Taiwan is really part of us, and everyone just nods along and says, yeah, that's great. And they stroke China's hair and they say, yeah, that's great, China. Yeah, you keep telling yourself that, then that's fine. Okay, no one cares.
Taiwan is called the Republic of China. And I think the mainland is called the People's Republic of China.
Yes.
Making it even more confusing.
Overwhelming majority's consensus opinion is that they don't want to disrupt relations with China, and they also, like, obviously if it was a situation between like full-blown independence versus like becoming a Chinese state, like becoming a part of the Chinese state.
Do the people of Taiwan like pay taxes in China? Like, do they vote?
I don't know. I don't know the exact details of that.
Do they have like travel status in China?
But the thing is, like, as far as Chinese Taiwanese relations goes, like the original inception of the country is
Taiwan,
a fascist dictatorship that America recognized as the real China until Richard Nixon normalized relations with China, and that's where they implemented the they call it strategic ambiguity, which I call lying.
Hold on.
Do you like that he's like, he has to put it in there. He's like, listen, guys, Taiwan fascist country. Okay.
I thought he was talking about the mainland.
No, he was talking about Taiwan. He was calling Taiwan a fascist country.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
And also,
Interesting.
him saying strategic ambiguity is lying is the dumbest thing, one of the dumbest things he's ever said. Because as he just said, he was in favor of this policy where like everyone pets China's head and pretends that they really control Taiwan, but we all know Taiwan's an independent country.
Right.
So do you support that or not?
Well, if it's strategic.
That's lying, though. Lying is bad. I don't know if you know
Okay.
that. Okay.
Just come out.
This says that the current administration of Taiwan maintains that Taiwan is already an independent country.
Yes.
This does not have to push for any sort of formal independence.
There are, well, that's because they don't want to do like a full-blown.
Exactly.
They don't want to do. They don't want to disrupt the status quo. That's why they're saying that.
Sure, they don't want to be invaded by China.
They want autonomy while simultaneously being under the Chinese banner, according
Seems like
to
they want
international.
independence, but they just don't want to be like attacked by China.
Yeah. Thank you, Ethan, saying literally the most obvious.
Although
Why
we
is
call
this
this
just so
land
easily
barren to one
obvious?
who knows
Children
where to
and
look, this
babies
place
understand
teems
this
with
concept.
life.
It's not complicated.
The
Why are we
thunder
arguing
lizard
about this?
Owatonka is called Blue Bolt by the Tauren, for within him
Well,
resides
that's
a
part of it
speed
for
that
sure.
belies his
So
size.
you
It is said that lightning struck Blue Bolt long ago, and fed from the sky's rage, the great beast's energy is without limit. May his energy flow through you, adventurer, for you now keep pace with Owatonka. Lakotamani is called Earthshaker in our language, and his steps are like gathered thunder. He is with you now, and his courage mingles with yours. Together there is no conflict you cannot face. Walk tall, adventurer. Walk tall, Earthshaker.
Greetings. It's too far away.
Listen, that's only part of it. There's other parts to this. Okay. Will we ever find out what the other parts?
Ethan asked him what his position. Ask him why his position is what it is. That's the
Yes.
question. That's the
Yes.
follow-up that you need.
Why does he have to play this dancing game for this
Yeah.
really easy question?
Strategic ambiguity kind of sounds like your answer here, Hassan.
Yes. That's why he likes strategic ambiguity, because that's what he's doing right here. This is like if you said, like, listen, do you think the Nazis were wrong? And someone's like, well, and you're like, whoa, 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 why is there a well before that?
Yeah, exactly.
That's threw you a softball. This is like when Joy Reid asked Kimberly Crenshaw, is CRT Marxist?
Right.
She throws her the softball. She's like, well. They're like, oh.
She thought it was a softball,
Yeah,
but it wasn't.
it was not.
There was napalm on that softball.
She sat there and did not swing at that pitch. Because if she did, she would have blown up.
Yeah.
You understand how Taiwan was developed as
Yes.
a nation state, right? Like, so Mao purged and defeated the counter-revolutionary forces.
You like how at first he says purged, and then he's like, oh, wait, I mean defeated.
He purged
Those are
him
two
from the
very
country.
different things.
He purged him from the country.
Yeah, but it's like purge almost always has a negative connotation,
Right.
especially in a human sense.
A floofy, goofy connotation.
Mao really floofed the goof and purged a bunch of people from China. And he's like, oh, I mean it defeated. That's right. He didn't purge. He defeated the counter-revolutionary force.
That spell isn't ready yet.
It's like, if you're going to say that you're not a tanky, you don't support Mao, you don't support China, then own that position. Don't give us this wishy-washy crap.
Is he a tanky? I guess maybe
I don't
he
know.
is.
He says he's not, but this is weird.
Seems tanky-ish.
Taiwan has been a larger part of like China historically, and the original Taiwanese claim was that the entire mainland China belonged to what is now known as Taiwan. And that was the American foreign policy position as well, because, you know, China was communist and Taiwan was a fascist military dictatorship.
Yeah, so America wants to support the fascists over the communists.
What is the point of even going into all, like, trying to muddy the question with all this complicated history nonsense? None of this has anything to do with the question that Ethan asked about, well, do you want Taiwan to remain independent or not? Like, what is the point of going into all this?
To stall for time.
Yeah. Like, listen, if I keep calling Taiwan fascist, then it's going to make it better for me to not support it.
Yeah, he's got to throw that out there a couple times just to soften Ethan up for what he's about to do.
Right. You're fascist.
Look, I haven't studied the history of Taiwan extensively, but if Taiwan went from basically an aristocracy / monarchy into a democracy, I wonder how much American oversight had to do with that.
I'm sure a lot of it.
Yeah. Like North Korea and South Korea were split up after a war, and South Korea is a thriving liberal democracy, and North Korea is a authoritarian dictatorship.
Right.
Yeah. Look, everyone always wants to say America bad, but why are all the places that we end up becoming friends with, they become liberal democracies?
That become very successful and rich.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I mean, that seems like a fair question, right?
That is a fair. Why is it that all the people that we liberated and sided with, and after World War II became thriving liberal democracies?
West Germany, same exact thing. West Germany, East Germany became just shithole.
And all the countries that sided with the Russians or the Chinese all became horrible.
Yeah. Why is that?
I don't know. Why is that? That's hilarious.
So they were like, oh yeah, we're just gonna completely ignore China until Nixon normalized relations with China. And then Taiwan became a democratic country, of course, with still a lot of reactionary opinions overall, but like that's gone away in recent years. I think the younger generations have a...
Dude, like, hey, he has to throw that, and he's like, listen, they became a democracy, but they still have reactionary opinions. Like, so much, oh my god, but
Hedging.
Taiwan bad, but Taiwan bad. Like, this is so ridiculous.
Yeah, epic amounts of hedging here.
Yes. Get over it.
A different perspective on the matter. But overall, like, historically speaking, Taiwan and China being the same country, it has been around for much longer than, like, as Elon Musk said, Hawaii being an American state. Much, much longer.
Taiwan is already independent. That's what I'm saying. People don't want a formal declaration just because they don't want a fucking war.
Oh yeah, I like how Ethan's like, listen, I'm gonna ignore everything you just said because it was
Right.
totally pointless. Okay.
Let me
Just
cut straight
right
to the
heart of
point
issue.
here.
Yeah.
Look, people are worried about a war.
Yeah, they don't care about all this nonsense that you're going on and on about. Okay.
Everybody wants Taiwan to be independent because it's cool.
Right.
We just want to avoid a war because China's a bunch of dicks.
Yes.
But they're not wanting to be Hong Kong and be like consumed by the Chinese party.
They don't want to be Hong Kong? What happened in Hong Kong?
Look at that face. That's
He's
the
like-
face of like, oh my god, are we? For
He's like,
real?
you're shitting me, right?
Are we like, what are we pretending here? Okay.
Am I saying the right place?
Oh my god, this is hilarious. This is hilarious. Oh, this is so good.
Ethan
Yo,
is like,
Am I
generally like,
speaking
what?
English over here?
He's like, wait a minute. What's happening? This interaction is so good.
Be like consumed by the Chinese party.
They don't want to be Hong Kong? What happened in Hong Kong?
Am I saying the right place?
No, you
They were
are.
independent, and then they got fucking eaten.
They were
up.
not independent.
Oh, they were had some rights. They were less independent than Taiwan. And then they got eaten
Hong Kong
up.
was bought by
Are you saying the people of Hong Kong did not want to be?
There were certainly people that did not want to be a part of China. Absolutely, that is 100% correct.
Most of them.
A lot of
the people there took a lot of
people
pride in not
enjoyed,
being.
A lot of people enjoyed having Western civil liberties, while simultaneously like being in a unique position. But now that China already does regular trade with the rest of the world, because like at a time in like the 90s, Hong Kong.
Listen, this is so, all this hedging, all this obfuscation. Oh my God. Yes, the people in Hong Kong liked to be, considered part of the Western world that had Western civil rights that supposedly you're in favor of, Hassan. I know, shocking. And now they don't have that because they're all just consumed by China.
Yeah. Yeah, under the Chinese thumb. Or boot.
Yes.
Whichever you prefer.
You know that the country that, like, if you speak bad about the country, they dock your social credit score and you can't use public transportation anymore? You know that country, right? You want to live in
Yeah.
that country, Hassan? I mean, maybe he does. Maybe as long as it was, like, woke. Maybe Hassan would support that if you criticize some sort of wokeness online, the government makes it so you can't post on Twitter and you can't buy groceries anymore.
There's a Vice documentary on the Uyghur genocide. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but
Yeah, I have.
it's pretty interesting. They're on the train and they're just trying to talk to the Chinese people about the Uyghurs. And most of China is Han Chinese.
Right.
And they get one person to talk, but like they're super tepid about it. And they're
No one
very
wants to talk.
yeah, exactly. And they're very just kind of Communist Party line. Oh yeah, they're a bunch of troublemakers, Yeah, we're just trying to re-educate them. All the things she's saying, you're going, oh my God.
This is what's so disgusting to me about Hassan. This came up when we were talking to Kurt and Jimmy Dore and all this stuff. Like, you have these people whose literal job it is to go on the internet and give their political opinions. And they simp for these countries where their job would be illegal in those countries.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Hassan can only do what he does because he lives in America. And what you're saying is the perfect thing. Whenever you see these interviews where they go in China or they go in Russia, they try to ask people about politics, everyone either is like, oh, no comment, right? Or they just simp whatever the party line is. And then you go to America and you ask every random person what their political opinion is. And every Tom, Dick, and Sally has like their own wacky opinion about politics.
Oh, of course,
You know?
yeah. Yeah, exactly. People are not afraid to speak their mind at all.
I know. I just saw today there was like these fucking disgusting communist children who are so privileged, who are so dumb. Okay, China has the CCP. Twitter or X has the CCC, the cringy communist cucks, who, Dev, friend of the show,
That's pretty
Dev.
good. I
It
like
is.
that.
Dev, friend of the show, was talking about how, like, well, if you're going to say that it's okay to make fun of 9/11 on Twitter and make edgy jokes about 9/11, then I or anyone else can make edgy jokes about, trans people or whatever. And this person was like, oh, my free speech. It's so 2016. I'm like, can you imagine some privileged child saying that free speech is so 2016? It's just disgusting. Oh my, you know what? I think we should pass a new law. Okay, a new amendment to the Constitution. If you're a communist and you think that free speech is lame and cringy, I don't think you should actually get free speech. I think you should lose it all at that point.
It's funny too, because as soon as you start talking about, teachers hanging up a pride flag in their classroom or just basically indoctrinating all of their students, then all of a sudden they're like, free speech. What are you talking? You're trying to, oh my God.
Yes. Free speech
Say
for
no to
me.
my free speach.
But
Look,
not
I
for
am a
thee.
government employee and I'm not supposed to be indoctrinating your kids, but free speech.
I know, I mean, these people are disgusting.
They don't understand any of the concepts.
Cringy communist cucks.
I
The
like
CCC.
that. Yeah, that we have to. That needs to be a meme. That's
Trademark.
a perfect meme.
There you go, guys. Spread it out. The CCC.
Yeah.
Hong Kong was seen as like this prosperous middle ground, but since the 2000s, like because of an insane amount of development and insane trade relations with the rest of the planet, there are tier 1 cities that are even larger and have more economic activity than Hong Kong in and of itself. And there was always a timeline where Hong Kong was going to be given back to China. They just accelerated it by like 2 decades, if I'm not mistaken, because that was a lease on Hong Kong. So the people of Hong Kong, there were certainly a lot of people in Hong Kong that did not want to be a part of the Chinese state. But overall, if you look at the situation in Hong Kong right now, it's like they claimed that it was going to be devastating, and that has not happened.
Not that we know of, because they have no freedom of speech anymore.
Look at that face. Oh, how dare you hit me with the freedom of speech. That's mean, bro.
I just listen. If Hassan ever virtue signals about anything ever again, just look him straight in the eyes and say, "Bitch, you literally simp and defend Uyghurs being genocide in China. Please go fuck yourself." Like, it's just so disgusting.
It is totally disgusting.
Okay.
They can't talk. They lost
that
their
part
right.
is true. You're right.
Okay, so he admits it. Okay. Well, what was that performance? He's like, well, he's like, okay, well, maybe you're right.
What are we going to learn from that?
I will not.
They have secret prisons,
I
bro.
do not agree with China's social or civil liberties policies. I do not agree with that at all. That's why I don't live in China. I live in America. However,
is it weird? Am I being too hard on Hassan here when he keeps calling it civil liberties policy? This is very strange. Like he's trying to, I don't know, like remove the emotion from it. It's just your civil liberties policies.
Maybe.
It's like, yeah, your free speech. It's kind of an important thing. Ability to live free. I thought we're all supposed to be in favor of liberty and freedom, you know?
I kind of want Hassan to respond to one of those videos about the ghost cities. I want to see what his take is on the ghost cities.
He's probably in favor of them. He's like, this is good. The government is helping the middle class in China invest in something, right? Even if it's nothing, it's, you know, even if it's
invest in something that'll never be worth anything. Those people, those poor people, that's a retirement. An apartment, a gutted apartment no one's ever going to move into.
Yeah, but the government will keep spending money on it, so it will be worth something. It's just worth nothing in reality, right?
Ugh, so stupid.
Having said that, you can just go to Hong Kong, and you can just go to every part of China pretty much and see for yourself. This is no longer like the North Korea style hermit kingdom where like no information comes out. Like we have
regardless,
we have a shit ton of Chinese people that live in America. And
regardless, bro, it's not that they had rights. They don't have rights now. They lost a lot of rights. But whatever. I mean, you're. This is interesting that you're very soft. You're very soft-footed around the issue of China. You love China.
I think China.
If you love China so much, why don't you marry it?
Once again, I don't live there. I choose to live here because of the issues that you just brought up, which is civil liberties being taken away, no freedom of speech, walled garden internet. Like there are certainly parallels to the American state or the Western world.
Oh my God! Stop! No! What anything is parallel to what's going on in China and America?
Look, give him a chance. He's going to talk about cancel culture. He's going to talk about how...
okay. Is he gonna...
He is.
Like this, the left
he's gonna relate it to Gina Carano.
You're right.
You know, getting
right.
canceled over...
I should give him a shot.
Over internet intimidation.
World that there are certainly comparisons that you could make, but overall, that kind of mechanism of control is one that I do not appreciate personally, which is why I choose to live here. But as far as like cruelty, oppression, like what you're talking about with respect to Hong Kong, the promises that Western media overall made about like how China was going to crush Hong Kong under its like ruthless, oppressive thumb has not happened.
Okay, so they just made it so you don't have free speech. You can't look up what you want on the internet, and they're just genociding Uyghurs. But you know, the cruelty of crushing them under their thumb. Like they're not just wandering the streets assassinating every person from Hong Kong. So therefore, you know, it's really a victory for me. Western media, wrong and bad.
Well, they wouldn't want to do that because they want those people to work.
Yeah.
They want them to work 80 hours a week so that they can save up money to buy an empty apartment in the desert.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
If his position, this tepid position about, well, I mean, yeah, I will say, yeah, maybe if you really press me that the civil rights in China's situation is bad, that's why I don't live there. It's like, okay, then why are you so tepid? Why are you so weak in this conversation about Taiwan? Just say, yes, even I, like a sane, rational person who loves freedom and democracy, believe that Taiwan should be free and independent from China. Period. Like, you don't need to add all these addendums and modifiers and quid pro quos and all this nonsense.
I think he's probably said a bunch of times how based China is on his show. So he just knows that there's clips out there, and he can't contradict himself.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Sitch, I already hear Sitch clicking away. He's already going to town. He's like,
Hassan Piker.
Hassan loves China. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know he does.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably compared China to America and said how much better China is than America. That's what Jackson Hinkle was saying.
Sure.
It's so weird. Did you see the photos Jackson, like, I guess he did his birthday or something in Moscow or like?
No.
It looks like he's on the Russian payroll now. They're like, oh my God, this guy's the best propagandist ever. We need to hire that guy. He should be working for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that was the point. I think the point was just that there's whoever was, you know, vocal about wanting to maintain certain rights in Hong Kong was probably thrown in a secret prison and never heard from again.
Ethan's like face, like.
I mean, certainly there was political dissidents are definitely
not the
political
best.
dissidents are definitely like
taken out back.
They're not killed or anything, but even then it's like completely
They take a
unacceptable.
walk and you know, they go for a beer and they don't come back. You
Yeah,
know what
they're
I'm
not
saying?
they're not good on that stuff.
But
100%.
well, anyway, I was just curious. I didn't mean to open a can of worms, but you say you think the people of Taiwan whatever they want, and it seems to me that the people of Taiwan want independence. So I'm right with you there, brother. Independence for Taiwan.
I think one nation, two systems.
One nation, two systems.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Look, he has a completely different position that I'm sure he's probably talked about on his stream.
Are we trying to do the whole like, oh, we're gonna pretend that they're both China, but they're not really. The lying position.
Oh, it is?
That's what the one nation, two systems system.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's our policy? That's American policy?
Well, supposedly.
Okay, sure.
I don't know.
Which is the current,
like Israel and Palestine.
Oh my God! You don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Come on.
I'm just fucking with you. I'm just trying to get you.
That part is like literally. I mean, that is a. I mean, that's an advocacy in the opposite direction, in my opinion, where
independence for Taiwan. You heard it here from Hassan.
Because remember, like the overwhelming majority of people living in Taiwan are still Han Chinese. Therefore, despite the fact that it's a separate country, it's still like the same people. The language is the same. People will say
Ukraine belongs to Russia for that exact reason.
I don't think Ukraine belongs to Russia.
Well, that's what the Russians are saying.
I know. That's what's exactly. But what is his argument Hassan's making? Like, or is he an ethno-nationalist now? He's like, well, I mean, they're technically the same people, so you know, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, who cares? It's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Because Ukrainian nation state, the Ukrainian nation state project, there are similarities. You're not wrong about that. But the Ukrainian nation state project, as a well-defined nation state, has always has been around for much longer than like Taiwan being an independent nation state.
So the people's entitlement to freedom.
Like you can make a better argument for Crimea being a separate country than like.
What I'm hearing is that it's just a function of how old their culture is, how entitled they are to freedom.
It's not. I don't think that it's like those two concepts are not the two concepts at play here. Like it's not like entitled to freedom versus what was the other thing that you said?
Well, it just seems like you're talking about like their they have some kind of national heritage or identity.
Well, the thing that I was mentioning there, the reason why I mentioned that is because you were talking about making a comparison between like Israel, Palestine, being the same people. I think makes that kind of, especially existing under the construct of having like one nation state regardless with freedom of travel in between. It's literally like a mile off the coast, you know what I mean, of China. Having all of that.
I thought, wait. What is this position? Okay. I thought Hassan was a communist. He's literally spouting fascism. He's like, well, it's different. Israel and Palestine, they're two different people. They're two different people of ethnic stock, okay? But with China and Taiwan, it's the same people. Like, these are like fascist ethno-nationalist talking points. Like,
It's
why does that
getting close.
matter? It's so insane.
Yeah.
Who cares? I thought you were all in favor of like multiculturalism and immigration.
I'm waiting for him
Hassan.
to start talking about real Americans.
I mean, Hassan, are you the same people of, you know, of the people of white American descent? Are you not American now because you're not the same stock? Like, what is this argument?
America's different, though. Americans come in all colors.
I agree, but apparently Hassan doesn't agree.
It is harder if you're like an immigrant to France.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I mean,
sure, but that's because of there will be massive cultural differences.
right.
Right. But it's not because there's some intrinsic quality to their DNA based on their skin color. So I can imagine very easily that the cultural differences between living in Taiwan and living in China are very different.
Yes.
As they were in Hong Kong before China took over. So just this idea that, like, well, they're the same people. This is ridiculous.
Factor to, like whether there's going to be assimilation or not, and there is no need for assimilation. Even they have like normal trade relations with Taiwan. You know what I mean? It's like that's why it's considered to be a delicate political conversation, but one that currently the current system benefits
I
both.
walk this road alone, seeking
Hassan
ways to
is
defend my honor
recognizing
and
that
rid
in
this
some
land of our
situations
enemies.
you might have a need
What can
for
I do for you,
assimilation.
adventurer?
I would love to
In
ask him what those
solitude I wander
situations
these
are.
roads. The dwarves of
Well, 'cause I do
Biomodan show
think he's
no respect for my land. Horrendous blasts drive holes deep into the ground as noisy machines rip apart the hills. Lands which once served as home and provider to my tribe are now riddled with destructive dwarves. Attempts at reaching a diplomatic resolution have failed. Now is the time for decisive action. Drive the dwarves from the Biomodan excavation by force, and bring to me the journal of their leader, Prospector Kazgor.
Probably anti-assimilationist in America.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
China takes military action against Taiwan, as some people speculate may happen.
Yeah, I mean, that would not be good. I don't think that would be good. I think that would be really, really terrifying. It would be disruptive for the entire global economy as well.
Right, but
wow, what a capitalist. He only cares about the effect a war would have on the global economy. Jeez.
That's good.
Oh my god. Terrible. Jonas for $20. Thank you, Jonas. Says Brianna Wu was intellectually dishonest, attention bore during Gamergate, and she still seems to be exactly the same even now. If Stitch, well, thank you, Jonas, for that, thinks she's better, what changed your mind? I mean, I don't know. She was, having conversations with us where she seemed to, and other people, where she seemed to have a greater acceptance and understanding and appreciation of other people's beliefs. And it seemed like her time and perspectives.
Yeah.
And it seemed like her time running for government kind of opened her mind to touching grass, essentially, and to not being so eternally online.
Right.
So that was all good. So, I mean, she brought a lot of favor for me by doing that. Obviously, as I talked about, she lost a lot of favor by running to Destiny's subreddit for no reason to attack Adam because she misunderstood a tweet. So I guess we'll see. Where we end up.
Well, also, you guys are the ones that always want us to try to persuade people and change people's minds, even though Sitch and I have been saying forever that's impossible.
No, they want us to destroy people.
Look, no, I don't think. Look, our audience is not about dunking on people.
Well, it depends. If it's someone they don't like, they're like, destroy them. If it's someone that they do like, they're like, why were you so mean to them?
Right. Look, there is a vocal, and maybe they're a minority, maybe they're not, but there are people in our audience that want us to, that swear up and down that we have changed their minds and would like us to try to change other people's minds. They perceive they were on a path towards dark partisanship.
Right.
And dumminess.
Right. NPC-dom.
Yeah, NPC-dom, exactly. And that we help them think of things in a new and interesting way that's been very helpful for them, and they want us to share that message with other people. And it would be like a giant win if there was any sort of self-reflection in Brianna Wu. Like she seems more partisan many of the people that we interact with, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. It seemed like there was a lot of self-reflection, you know.
Yeah, we did that live stream with Sean, and she seemed open to Sean's ideas, and she was talking about Sean and praising Sean.
Right.
I mean, maybe it's just a trans issue because the Gina Carano thing was around the trans issue.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm sure that's a sticky emotional trigger point. So that's a good point.
yeah. So I don't know. Look, A-Team's about forgiveness.
Okay.
There can't just be a talking point. Like,
sure.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Sooner or later, you've got to put down. All have to put down the guns. So,
right.
But you know, if nothing else, it's an interesting storyline. We'll follow it out until she like stabs Sitch in the back, and it's completely over, right?
Okay.
Look, I think it's very interesting to talk to people that have such, I mean, radically different perspectives, but are so self-assured about those perspectives too. Because there's a little bit of hubris, I think, that is a part of it that is entertaining for people.
Right.
They're like, oh man, it's just like Hassan here. Hassan is entertaining because he's so sure of himself. And he's wrong. That's the funny part.
That is the funny part.
I'm just mean like from whose army are you joining?
No,
Whose front line are you fighting?
I'm fucking moving to
Taiwan.
I'm moving to an undisclosed
Okay.
location. I'm moving to an undisclosed location.
I'm on the front.
I'm gonna be on a
line.
fucking ship.
Whoever has the
streaming.
best computer chips, I'm fighting for.
Okay.
I'm a chip boy myself.
If it wasn't for America, China would have some pretty solid chip technology, but America's like regularly trying to stop that process. Like they went to the Netherlands to be like, you can't sell China your chip technology, which is fucking insane if you ask me.
It's incredible the
Why is it insane?
They want to use that technology to oppress their people. And
Yeah.
he thinks it's bad that we're preventing them from doing that.
To crack down on more civil liberties.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I thought you were against.
He doesn't understand that.
Yeah.
It's the American Badlands. He's just like, whatever America wants to do is horrible.
the takes in chat, how many people are like, just the polarization of this topic. It's fucking insane.
Well, of course.
You should bring up circumcision, Ethan. Watch what happens then.
There
you
you
think
go.
China, Taiwan is bad?
There you go.
There's going to be polarization on the topic because the American media has been gearing people to be across the board like vicious, no matter what, to any foreign adversary. China being the main foreign adversary now, so people are going to be very passionate in their defense and start saying, we care about the people in Taiwan. You're not talking about the people in Taiwan. You don't care about them.
It's the media. If it weren't for the media's propaganda, people would not be siding with Taiwan.
Yeah. I mean, think about it this way. Why the fuck does no one care about Yemen? You know what I mean? Why? Because Saudi Arabia is the one, our ally, Saudi Arabia, is the one doing the genocide in Yemen. And you never see people get this passionate about Yemen. You don't see people get this passionate about Syria.
So, this is the problem with this argument. Because there is truth to the idea that unless the media is focused on something, you're not going to be focused on, most people are not going to be focused on themselves either. Because how could you be, right? If the media started to cover, you know, people dying in Yemen or Syria or wherever, people will start caring about it. And so that is one of the big ways the media has control is where do they turn the spotlight? Because people look at the media to get their news. So obviously that's how they interpret the world. That being said, it's kind of a total throwaway here because, and it's and this is a thing that like leftists do all the time, where you say, hey, I think this leftist country, this socialist country is doing something really bad. And they say, and people on the right do this too. I mean, this came up, you know, when a lot of times when we talk about Ukraine, they say, well, you don't really care about the humanitarian purposes because if you did, you would care about all these other countries that you're not aware of, where all these other horrible things are happening. And you're like, well, first of all, but you're putting aside this like insipid whataboutism that is completely irrelevant conversation. Like, yeah, it's a big brain thought process to say that what the media focuses on is what people focus on. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't also agree morally that it would be wrong for China to take over Taiwan. Like, yes, people fixate on it because the media talks about it and they don't talk about other things. That does not, is a fallacy. That is a baby-brained NPC talking point to think that somehow that removes the moral question about whether, we should actually be concerned in the logistical question, whether we should be concerned if China takes over Taiwan.
Look, I only care about the chip sitch. So look, let the people with the nothing. Who cares about them?
Yeah, I mean, it's annoying. It's the same thing. We'd argue with a lot of people about Ukraine. They'd be like, "Oh, wow, there's all these other places in the world where there's conflict." I'm like, "Oh, okay, what does that have to do with this?" Like, nothing.
Well, what do you care about this place? Obviously, you're just greedy. You just want their whatever they you want their stuff. That's the only reason you care. You don't care in the other places because they don't have any stuff.
Right.
You're a greedy person.
Listen, I'm a very smart person, okay? Whenever the American media or American politician tells me something, I automatically distrust it. But when an authoritarian dictator like Vladimir Putin or Xi Jinping tells me something, it must be true, all right? That's how smart I am as a person.
All the people who make that argument are the same people that say, I don't want my tax dollars spent over there. What do I care?
Well, I mean, at least that's an argument.
Yeah, but they're saying the same thing. They're like, I don't want I'm greedy. I want my tax dollars spent over here. It's the same argument. It's the same.
No, I guess, but like, listen, if someone tells me I don't want to support Taiwan or Ukraine because I'm greedy and or selfish, or I just don't want to, I just want to spend my money on me. I'm like, okay, just be upfront with what your position is, and I'm fine. It's like it annoys me when there's all this like subterfuge and nonsense and hedging that we're getting like from Hassan right here. He wants to argue with you about Ukraine, Adam. You can tell.
Press play.
I think Taiwan has more relevance to the United States, like in terms of economical, and social.
Yeah, that was developed.
Well, that's only natural that people would care more about something that affects them more. I don't think Yemen. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I just don't think Yemen affects.
But it's still people. It's still people that are being mercilessly slaughtered, whereas no one is being slaughtered in Taiwan in a similar capacity, and yet there are way more passionate because.
I'm not saying it's
like
right or
you
wrong.
said,
I mean,
it is designed to have this kind of.
And you think that if the only reason people care about Ukraine is because of the media?
Absolutely, 100%.
Nobody would care.
Did anybody care about Georgia?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I don't know.
No one gave a shit about Georgia. That's crazy.
This isn't even true. People did care about Georgia. We didn't do anything about it, but people cared when it happened. People cared about it. This is just not even true.
Did they? I mean, I remember McCain coming out and saying, well, we're all Georgian today. And everyone was like, shut up.
No, people did care. Bush cared. There were a lot of Republicans that were like, we should do something about it. And there were a lot of Democrats, because everything was flip-flopped back then. Or I guess everything's really flip-flopped now. Who were like, no, we shouldn't be involved in more wars. Right. They were, we're going to start World War III, blah, blah, blah. But there are lots of Republicans that were caring when Russia invaded Georgia.
Right.
There's also, I'm trying to remember, there's a really good video I saw that was all about why Europe and the West reacted so incredibly poorly to Russia invading Ukraine compared to Georgia. And why it was seen as a much more of a threat to the rest of Europe.
Oh, okay. I want to know. Why was it?
I don't remember. But there was something that I did stumble across.
Damn it.
There was something I did stumble across. This was not in this video. That I was figuring out my own when I was kind of researching a lot of the Burisma stuff. And people don't talk about how in 2014, when Yukanovic got deposed and he ran away to Russia, he basically, him and his cronies stole like the majority of the money in the Ukrainian government. They basically embezzled it away. And this includes the president of Burisma, was believed to have been involved in embezzling a lot of the money away. And this is part of why he was under investigation in England and the EU and even in Ukraine, was because they thought he embezzled a lot of this money away.
Wow.
And when that happened in 2014, America and Europe and the World Bank and the IMF and all these organizations started sinking billions and billions and billions of dollars into Ukraine to try to, basically prop it up, to keep Ukraine from collapsing. And when you realize that, it completely changes the context of the war and makes Putin look like even dumber. Like, he had to be literally one of the most egomaniacal, dumbest people on the planet to think that all these Western countries has spent the last 10 years sinking billions of dollars into Ukraine, and they're just going to allow Russia to just march in and take it over. Because if Russia just marches in and takes over Ukraine,
Their
you think
investment
Russia's
is
going to
gone.
pay back any of that money? You think?
Hell
I mean,
no.
yeah, of course not. All that money that has been, by the way, this was all not money given. A lot of this was loan money, okay? A lot of this was loans and loan guarantees the U.S. gave and that Europe gave. And if Russia took over Ukraine, no one's getting any of that money back, okay?
Right.
So even from like a very cynical perspective, you could say, Putin should have been like, well, all these countries have, put billions of dollars into this country, Ukraine. You think they're just going to let me march in there and just take it over and not pay them back? No,
that's a
that's
great
not going to
point.
happen. And yet, for some reason, that just never, gets thought about. Is why was Putin so stupid as to think that that would be allowed?
Hold on. Well, I mean, what about in Europe? They seem to care about Ukraine a lot.
It's the similar principle. Media is still media everywhere around the world.
I mean,
it plays a very significant role in people's lives.
Hold on.
in
Ukraine
manufacturing.
borders Europe, and I mean, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but Georgia is not really in such a geographically, strategically important location as Ukraine.
Okay.
Well, I'm just explaining why people might care more about Ukraine than Georgia. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying
Still
why.
people. It's the people
I'm
that
not
are being
saying
ruthlessly
it's not people.
slaughtered.
I'm just saying, because your theory is that.
There's another thing here too that's really stupid that Hassan misses, which is that, like, the fact that Russia invaded Ukraine first in 2014 and took Crimea and started the civil war, that kind of like put it on everyone's mind. Where like it's not like they just like if like maybe if, and you can, this isn't like a good thing, I'm just saying the way kind of human psychology works, where if they just basically invaded the country at once and just took everything, it's like people don't have a time to formulate an opinion and react to it psychologically. Unlike in the Ukraine situation, where basically people had 10 years to create an opinion about the situation.
Right.
And as Hassan rightly pointed out, Ukraine is on the border of Europe, and a lot of people don't care about Turkey or Armenia or any of these other countries for right or wrong reasons that Georgia borders. So
the Thunderhawk is a rare beast of the Barrens.
The
and its
support
death
for
can
Ukraine and
portend
Taiwan
great
is
fortune
essentially
or great doom.
manufactured.
But
That it wouldn't
Washtepon,
exist.
called Spirit Biter
It shouldn't
in Torah,
exist.
can bring neither or both. The pain you felt from hunting Spirit Biter is the pang all feel who make great gains at great costs. The sting you felt is the pain of regret. But I can see you have conquered this. You have learned that regret turns to wisdom, and that through pain one gains strength. You have learned much, adventurer.
The war chief has instructed me to study all kinds of weapons and armor. He has sent me here to the hub of both the Tauran and Orc cultures in the Barrens to meet as many travelers as possible. Excellent, excellent specimens indeed. The Quillbore are further along than I had expected. Here, adventurer, take this and get out of my way. I'd better take a closer look at these weapons. We may have underestimated our enemy, and that's the kind of mistake we can't afford to make.
Where can I send you today, adventurer?
I'm not saying it shouldn't exist. I'm simply stating that.
yeah.
I'm
Welcome to
simply
the
stating
Crossroads, adventurer.
manufactured.
My name is Thork. I lead the defenses here in the name of the War Chief. Please, feel free to make yourself at home. As long as you mind your business, no one should have any problem with you taking up some space. There are many threats to our safety here. If you've already become familiar with the lay of the land, speak to the others here. Perhaps they have tasks for you to do. You found the Razormane leader and killed him yourself, adventurer? Amazing. I am without words, but that does not mean I am without thanks. The people of the Crossroads would do well to respect your strength, I must admit. I thought the leader of these raids on our supply lines was another Quillbore. Thank you again, adventurer. Adventurer, you take my task seriously, and for that I thank you. Although my desire for revenge remains, I can at least smile seeing that the Quillbores have felt pain themselves.
You please me, adventurer. The eggs and the tool, well done, and for your reward.
My Wind Riders are trained to fly quickly through the hot Baron's air.
People only care about it because they've been tricked to caring about it.
It's not tricked, but dude, like, normal people don't think about foreign policy. Are you saying that you don't think that normal people's opinions about like international matters are shaped by what they see on the news and what's prioritized?
Okay, so here we have the producer guy being a total shill cuck, and I'll explain why. Because it's true, and as I even said, it is true that yes, people's opinions, what they focus on, is entirely shaped upon media, what they focus on, what they consume, right? But that's that's an obvious thing, and you can talk about that in some like meta conversation. But we all know, everyone knows, this guy knows, we all intuit that the reason Hassan brought that point up was to try to weaken the argument that there's some moral reason to support Hong Kong or some moral reason to support Taiwan. That's the only reason he brought it up. There's no other reason in the context of this conversation to bring it up other than to say, well, maybe we shouldn't care about that, as much because you don't, or to say you don't really care about the humanitarian purpose of this because you don't care about all these other horrible things that are going on in the world. And this guy enters into the conversation and completely just runs interference for Hassan's idiotic bad faith point.
Yeah. He's basically saying, look, you're being duped into caring about this. Don't you feel like a big idiot?
Well, no, so that's what Ethan is saying. He's saying, oh, you're saying I'm being duped. And then this guy's saying, no, that's not what we're saying. We're just saying this very obvious fact. And it's like, okay, but what does your very obvious fact have to do with the conversation? Why would you...
Blood and thunder. I knew you couldn't resist some of this brew. Come back again anytime you want some more, adventurer. Just bring me more of the ingredients I had you collect. Good stuff, that storm stout, huh? I have another recipe that I learned from Chen. Would you be interested? It won't take long to make, and it might be useful if you plan on...
Blue leaf tubers are...
Time is money, friend.
even bring up this thing?
Right.
I'll give you a better example.
Of course it is.
Hold on, because I'm being double teamed now, so I need to speak.
Okay.
Of course it is. But this implication that you're like, if you say nobody cares about Taiwan or Ukraine because of the media, it implies that, you know, the support for those two countries or care for those two countries is like,
Nobody
you know,
implies.
manufactured. That it's really not sincere. That's what it sounds like.
You jumped to that. Nobody
I'm
said.
sorry.
No,
but-
I am saying
no,
that.
Yeah, he is saying
yeah,
that.
That's hilarious. The producer's like, no one said that. Hassan's like, well, I'm saying that.
I am saying that. That's what I'm saying. Look, you came up with a good idea, and I'm gonna adopt it.
That's hilarious. Oh my god.
Countries is like,
Nobody
you know,
implied.
manufactured. That it's really not sincere. That's what it sounds like.
You jumped to that. Nobody
I'm
said.
sorry.
No,
but-
I am saying
No,
that.
yeah, he is saying
yeah,
that,
I'm
Dan.
saying that the support for the overwhelming majority of Americans, for any
manufactured,
country
not
that
authentic.
any country that the United States of America has a genuine interest in is manufactured in either direction. It can be manufactured carelessness and inconsideration, like being inconsiderate and ruthlessly violent at certain points, which is the example I was going to use with 9/11 and what we did post 9/11, or it could be manufactured.
You would think, you know, Hassan should be so ashamed of his past comments that the words, the numbers 9 and the numbers 11, you should be afraid to use those numbers in any context whatsoever. Okay. Mr. Hassan Piker, America deserved 9/11, is what he said.
I remember that.
What was his excuse? Was like, well, English is not my first language.
I think that was a lie.
You think so?
I do,
You think
yeah.
so? You think that was strategic ambiguity?
Exactly what it was.
In the other direction, where it's like, this is the just war. This is the just war that we have to fight, like we did in Vietnam originally, when there was need to generate popular support for whatever kind of action America consistently takes. Now,
I'm not denying that propaganda exists.
Yeah, think
but I
about it
am
this way.
saying that like the comparison of Ukraine to Georgia is not. It's not apples to oranges. That's all I'm saying. It's not.
What
Here's my problem with the manufacturing consent. I guess there is how a story is framed can definitely
As the wind on
affect
the plains,
the
you are
interest
always
in that
welcome here.
story. And I don't know that the Georgia story was framed in a way that would spark interest.
Mm-hmm.
Look, if you're a master manipulator, I think you can frame certain things in ways that make those stories more enticing so they catch fire. But I'm not necessarily sure if that's entirely intentional or not. I mean, some stories just catch fire, and some stories, you can tell they try to make it catch fire. They're like, oh, we should talk about this. This is the thing everyone should talk about, right? So sometimes there's stories that are kind of forced that way, but they never really do catch fire because people are just not interested.
Yeah, but here's what Ethan or anyone, if you're in this situation, should ask. You should say, well, wait a minute. I'll just agree. We'll just theoretically agree that all the facts, okay, are the same between Georgia and Ukraine, right? It's the exact same situation. Why does it matter? What is your point? Why does it matter to this situation? Because even if it was the same, why would that remove the moral question between Ukraine and Russia right now? Why would that change any of the moral calculation?
Well, the point of why he's bringing it up, obviously, is to say you're only involved because of your own selfish self-interest.
Well, no. He's not even making that point. He's saying you're only involved because the media told you to be involved. Right.
Right, but the media told you to be involved
right.
because it lines the pockets of certain executives.
Okay, so then your response to that is, okay, so you're saying that you don't think we should care about people getting slaughtered in Ukraine? And then he'll go, wait, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying the contemporary history is very nuanced. I'm like, well, no, wait, you need to make a claim here, okay? If this is the same as Georgia, and you're saying we only care about this because the media told us to care about it, are you saying that we shouldn't care about it? Because if you say that we should care about it, then your entire point is irrelevant, and you're just wasting everyone's time and clouding the issue up completely,
Totally.
which is what's going on.
I would go with both. I would say, listen, you should care about both. You should care about Georgia and Ukraine.
Sure.
Yeah.
But that was in the past, so you can't really go back in time. I would say
Right.
the point
But
is
that takes his argument about resources away.
right. But the problem is there's like this game people do where they can't really like argue the actual point, so they just try to throw mud at your point to dirty it up. Well, they dodge themselves.
Yeah.
And you have to like you have to really just point this out to be like, well, what are you actually doing in this conversation? What is your actual point here?
Dodging.
Right.
What do you mean by this? That it's
Ukraine borders like mainland Russia or Europe.
Okay.
Europe cares a lot about it.
Okay. I would say that it's probably more. I would say that in Europe, there's probably more of a not controversy necessarily, but it's a more divisive issue in I think Europe than it is in America, most likely.
It's also like, you know, not
Because-
the best
look-
precedent when like tyrants start land grabbing in Europe. Generally
I
doesn't
disagree
have a
with
good
that.
precedent.
I agree with you. I think that in
And so
the
I
invasion of
understand
Ukraine
why
is
people don't like
completely
the Ukraine thing.
unjustifiable, and it's also, even if you're like pro-Russia, pro-Vladimir Putin, anti-NATO, right? Even if you're all of those things, it is a laughably idiotic thing to do, because all you've done is now galvanize NATO support in Europe and justified it, because that was the entire reason for NATO's existence, is to stop the USSR, stop communism from thriving. And obviously, Russia is a very different country than the USSR was, and is no longer ideologically aligned with communism at all. It is a state that Western capitalists basically redesigned and propped up oligarchs, including people like Vladimir Putin.
So see, I don't know if you noticed, Adam, but the current horribleness that's going on in Russia, that's not the entire culture of corruption that the Soviets bred for 70 years. It's actually the liberal capitalist fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We forced it on them. We said, listen, you guys are going to be corrupt, whether you like it or not.
Yep. And it's funny because when you actually
Look, I was joking.
I know. When you actually like read people who were there interacting with it, you know, they all say kind of the same thing, which is that, you know, the capitalists made the mistake of assuming that Russian people had a culture like Americans, where, you know, if you give them the opportunity and the people in the government the opportunity and the money, that they will kind of create a high trust business society like America. But they kind of neglected the fact that they've basically been like indoctrinated by 70 years of living in a super ultra corrupt communist country, where all that gets anything done is greasing people's palms. And so, surprise, surprise, when you give them a bunch of money, what happens? Everyone just falls back into that pattern that's, you know, been their 70, 80-year culture.
Yeah, what were you reading?
So there's people, because we talked about this before, there were people that were actually ambassadors to the Soviet Union at the time. There were people that were business people that went over to Russia at the time that were actually involved in the reconstruction, and this is what they would talk about.
Yeah.
But no, somehow it's just the capitalist fault here, because the Soviet Union was so great. The Soviet Union, by the way, Hassan, which teamed up with the Nazis, was so great. So fantastic.
Yeah. No, but everyone forgets that.
I'm so sickened by the America Badlands. It's like, yeah, America's done bad stuff. There's a lot of countries that have done way worse stuff. Okay.
True.
Every time you talk about another country, Hassan, you don't have to somehow turn it around that it's America's fault that that country has problems.
Right. Yeah, no.
So, despite all of that, it's still utilized as a protection racket that you basically justified its existence of by doing such an unimaginably cruel, inhumane, unjustifiable act, invading Ukraine.
But this is what's so, it's like he has to walk this weird rope where it's like, yeah, he'll, you know, and that's good. I mean, I'm glad that he will use very strong language to condemn Russia invading Ukraine. But his audience is just like, this really shows what I always say. The number one lens at which people use to interact with the world and to absorb information is just tribalism. And so if the people you don't like support something, you're just inherently emotional gut intuition, your elephant is telling you that you should not support it because your enemies support it. And that's just how people react emotionally.
Yeah.
And that, like,
unfortunately,
there's so much of Hassan's audience that just was so subsumed in America bad lens that they're like, oh no, we can't accept it. So it's like, yeah, so then they have to kind of do this twisty thing where it's like, yes, what Russia did is just so awful, so bad, so evil, but it's also still America's fault. Like, okay.
yeah, they just hate America.
So it's a strategic blunder, even if you're like pro-Russia.
I do think that I just think people are capable of caring about it without.
Well, I mean, I care
being
about
like,
it.
you know,
I care about it.
People sincerely care about it, even though, you know, you think it's unfair that people didn't care as much about Georgia. You know, that's my point.
It's not necessarily just not caring about Georgia. My opinion on this is that we, as a nation, here in America and all around the world, are not immune to propaganda.
No.
As a matter of fact, every piece of information that we analyze has a great impact on our decision-making process, and therefore doing a full media blitz on any particular issue is usually going to yield these kinds of results and this kind of support, which without that kind of media blitz would not exist. Does that make sense?
I mean, sure, but it's entirely irrelevant unless you're going to make the claim that the media blitz is in the wrong. Then otherwise, I don't know why you're bringing this up.
That's a good point. Yeah. Is the media wrong here? I mean, a lot of people are saying the media is wrong.
Yeah, but Hassan is not saying the media is wrong. So what is the point of talking about this then? Like, what is the point? Yeah, your point is that, well, Americans aren't immune to propaganda. Wow, thank you. Shocking.
I know.
You know, we didn't know this
Hard
before.
to believe.
Right.
Again, I'm not denying that propaganda exists and that we're all, you know, influence.
And the example I was going to use was our justification for the invasion of Afghanistan and the invasion of Iraq. These were both unjustifiable wars, in my opinion. The war on terror was across the board, wholesale, ruthless, cruel, led to millions of people dying, led to tens of millions of people being destabilized, and we're still living in the rubble of that kind of cruel and unusual action. And it was championed by a majority of the American population, and until like the past like couple of years, where
what does that have to do with Ukraine being invaded by Russia?
Where do you think that kind of attitude came from?
Okay,
where do you think that justification came from? There was.
This is so stupid. Like, listen, did you know that sometimes, I don't know if you know that, but sometimes science got things wrong in the past. Did you know that?
I've heard that.
Yeah. Did you know that they used to like chop up bits of people's brains?
Yeah, that was fun.
It's a medical procedure. they used to let your blood out. You know, they used to
let
your
leeches?
blood out.
Those are always fun.
Yeah. They used to say like you had bad humors or your bad blood.
Get the right bile, yeah.
Right, yeah. I mean, I don't know if so science has been wrong in the past. So therefore, vis-a-vis, ergo ad procto, ad nauseum.
Science is always wrong.
I get to say that science is wrong now. Like, this is the dumbest position ever. Well, America supported wars that were bad in the past. So therefore, that says something about what's happening right now.
Right.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Hassan. Genius. Thank you.
It was $1 billion industry.
Same thing, man. Ukraine was invaded by Russia.
No, it is exactly the same thing.
Literally a tyrant grabbing land in Europe.
I agree with what you're saying. My point is, My
You're
point
saying
is that
propaganda exists? Yeah, I know.
no, my point is that Americans think that they are independent thinkers, and yet they are motivated into believing things no matter what it
agree
is.
that
It can be a just cause.
I agree that.
It can be a just cause in the situation where you're.
It really annoys me, and I hear people love talk about this. They have this like really, really dumb view that Europeans are smarter than Americans.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
It's like, no, I hate to break it to you, but this whole like, oh, Americans, they think they're so smart, but they're all being led by the nose by their media. I hate to break it to you. You understand that's literally everyone in the entire world. Okay? There's no nation of magically super genius free thinkers out there that are all super smart and know everything. That doesn't exist.
I
hate
mean,
to
I
break it
did
to
start
you.
listening to some European news channels because the Ukraine coverage in America is so biased.
Mhm.
And it does seem much more nonpartisan.
Yeah, but that's different. That's the question of is the news. Well, first of all, the news media that I've seen in a lot of European countries is super biased. Okay.
Oh, it is?
It's like, yeah, it's insanely woke.
What are
So,
what are you talking about? What are you watching?
like in England.
Well, England doesn't count. England is not
Well, that's
Europe.
part of Europe.
No.
So I don't know what
I'm
country you're
talking
talking
like
about. You're talking about
Germany or France.
I'll admit
or-
I haven't watched a lot of German news broadcasts. But you know, you can definitely have other countries where maybe the
I
news
think the one
media
I'm watching
is more
is German.
Right. You can definitely have more. I mean, you can have media in a different country that is at least trying to be, you know, not partisan, and that's good. But I'm talking about something different. I'm talking about the idea that like there's some quality of human nature that Hassan and I hear a lot of people on the left bring up that like Americans have some natural quality of stupidity or bias that is different than like some sort of like magical white European stock that has. It's funny because there's people on the left who are supposed to be against the white nationalism thing, yet they constantly make this argument that there's some kind of like magical quality to white Europeans, that they just have a smarter, better sense of reality of the world.
Oh my god. I have to download this picture.
What?
So the name of the channel is DW News.
Yeah.
They seem to have good reporting. I was trying to see what what country it was. I think it's Germany. But then I came across this image that just is like screams European news.
What is the image?
Because it's so comical.
Mm-hmm. Is it a guy being like censured by the EU or something? Is
No.
it someone asking for a license?
No,
What
it's
is it?
some like burly German woman
Yeah.
wearing a flak helmet and a flak jacket. And it's just oh my god. I brought it up on screen. Here, let me. I wonder if I can just send it to you. Maybe I can DM it. But anyway, what were you saying before I encountered this photo
before
that
you
started
just-
me laughing like crazy?
No, I was saying it's weird that
Oh, here it
people
is. I DM'd it.
It's weird that people on the left who are supposed to be against ethno-nationalism constantly make this argument that there's some sort of magical quality to white Europeans that makes them smarter than Americans.
Yeah.
It does seem like a weird, like, ethnic nationalist comment or point of view. that they keep making.
That Europeans are smarter than Americans?
Yeah,
That
'cause they
Americans
seem-
are dumb?
Yeah, like, because they
Dumb
kind
Americans?
they like,
Anti-intellectual Americans?
yes, they mythicize it like there's some magical quality of the white European that makes them smarter than Americans. It's very strange to me.
Yeah, I don't like that stuff. But you know me, I don't like any of these.
Right.
I don't like putting people down. Even though this photo, I'm technically laughing at this poor woman.
I know. Jesus.
German! While funded by the German government, the work of DW is regulated by the Dutch Well Act.
Anyone that thinks there's some magical quality to some group of people from some country to be like not NPC brained has just never interacted with people from that country. Okay. I hate to tell you that.
Right.
I hate to tell you that.
So anyway, I listen to the news from
where you're
there from
supporting
time to
Ukraine and Ukrainian independence, which is an independent nation state. You know what I mean? It's been an independent nation state in the aftermath of the dissolution of the USSR. It's been an independent nation state. You can't just like turn around and be like, all right, it's mine now, right? I agree with that.
Taiwan has been an independent country longer than Ukraine has, Hassan.
When did Ukraine's been since 1991, right?
Yeah.
What's Taiwan?
Well, so Taiwan, part of the reason Taiwan's the way it was is because Japan took it over in World War II.
Oh yeah, I remember.
It got freed. Yeah, it got freed by the Americans. So it's been kind of like this contentious issue since the 40s.
Yeah. It's a long time.
And that it can be seen as a just war, an understandable war. It's not even a war that the Ukrainian people wanted, right? But having said that, the American support, the full-throated support, is absolutely a.
It doesn't seem like there's full-throated support. There's a lot of people that don't support it. There's a very diverse opinion of
if you looked at polls in the original invasion, the amount of support
seems like
was.
There's a lot of conservative people who are like Putin simps, and then there's also a bunch of like lefties, like I mean that derogatory.
Those aren't real leftists.
Who aren't like who are like the guy we were speaking to, the communist professor.
Richard Wolff?
Yeah, who's like kind of he people like him are also very anti-Ukraine in general.
I don't know his entire perspective,
He doesn't
but
seem very bullish
I
on
don't think
black.
you can be pro. If you are offering even critical support to Russia, or not Russia, but like Vladimir Putin in general, I don't think you're doing the right thing.
I don't
think
know
that
what's
you've
his
got,
position because he didn't really flesh
Yeah,
out.
I think you're lost in the sauce. I think you're lost in the sauce in the sense that.
No. This is so dishonest.
Lost in the sauce.
Yeah, this is so dishonest. Richard Wolff has been super vague, posty about Ukraine and Russia. You know, whenever he talks about it, like this is so insanely dishonest. Yeah.
He loves communist Russia.
Right. Yeah. He's literally been like, it's all America's fault. It's all America's fault. And you're like, well, but is it bad? And he's like, I mean, it's bad. Maybe. You know, this is so dishonest.
Me or him?
No. Like anyone that is like, oh no, Vladimir Putin did the right thing. He has to have this.
I don't think people are
righteous
saying
conquest.
that. I think what I hear is like Ukraine, Zelensky is also, you know, a shit starter, and it's their problem that we shouldn't get involved in.
Also, Richard Wolff was a frequent contributor to RT.
Yeah, I remember.
Also known as Russia Today.
He's probably got thousands of dollars from them.
Right. Until it got closed down when Putin invaded Ukraine. But okay.
Did we? Is it gone from YouTube?
I don't know. I mean, it's still up. I mean, it still exists. So yeah, I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know. I think there's a lot. There are people who like claim to be socialist or even communist that are like.
Kazgor met the fate he earned. I feel no remorse for the fool. He was an infidel on these lands. May his death serve as a warning to all those who threaten to disrupt our way of life. Now let me take a moment to study the dwarf's journal. It is clear the prospector depended on explosives and those noisy vehicles to rip the ground apart. We can expect a new foreman to take over soon. I want to give the dwarves a taste of their own medicine. According to these plans, if we combine nitroglycerin with wood pulp and sodium nitrate, we can create an explosive charge. The rifleman, soldiers, and officers in the keep are known to have the supplies. Collect these items and bring them to me. I will fashion a charge that the dwarves won't forget.
You know, defending Vladimir Putin, but they're marginal.
What, Dan? You seem to think that the Ukraine war isn't something America should get involved in.
When did I ever say that? What are you talking
just
about?
based on what you were saying about Georgia.
No, we were having a discussion about how media shapes narratives in the United States. And I was saying that, again, I'm not talking about in Europe. I'm not talking about in the rest of the world. In the United States, the Russian invasion of Georgia was a non-story. Nobody gave a shit here.
But it's different. It is different. There's difference.
It was a sovereign nation that Russia invaded. What are you
Because
talking
it doesn't. It's not. It doesn't have the same proximity or the same importance within as Ukraine. I think.
Right, but we're talking past each other. Like that.
I'm not.
Yeah, Ukraine is more important to the United States strategic.
How many bank loans did IMF give to Georgia?
Probably none. I don't know the answer
I
to
think
that
that's probably a big difference.
Sure.
That's why it gets attention. We're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. But okay. I know people are influenced by the media.
Right, but you were saying you think that people,
Ethan's like, dumbass. Why do you think I have this show?
Yeah, but this place is just so dishonest. It's like, yeah, we all accept media influenced people. That doesn't have anything. Like, why would you bring that up?
Yeah.
What is
That's
the
what
point
he's
of bringing
asking
that
over
up?
and
Yeah.
over again. Like, why do you
Right.
keep bringing this up? What's your point?
Are allowed to care about things genuinely.
Nobody's saying that they're not
saying
allowed
that you're not allowed to. I mean,
not allowed to. But Hassan was saying.
What was I saying?
That it's a manufactured support.
It absolutely is.
Yeah, and Dan,
that is something that the U.S. media does. They manufacture support for U.S. foreign
You were
policy.
saying I jumped to conclusions.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that all U.S.
You like that? So originally he said, "I'm not saying that it was manufactured support," and then now Hassan said, "No, it is manufactured support." He's now changed his tune because he can't.
Right.
He's like, "Well, I mean, it is manufactured." Like, come
He
on,
ran
bro,
out.
it's fine.
He ran out and read manufacturing consent.
Right.
And now he's back again.
Right. Be like the Godzilla on your shirt, okay? Grow spine, stand tall, say what your opinion is. Don't do this symptom, this cucking that you're doing.
I never read manufacturer consent. Like Chomsky, right?
Probably shouldn't read anything Chomsky, right?
You don't like Chomsky?
God, he's such a blithering idiot. It's painful.
A pompous windbag?
Yes. Yes, he's like the smart, stupid person. You know, like the meme where it's like the guy on the retard end of the spectrum and the guy on the super genius part of the spectrum have the same really stupid opinion.
As the wind on the plains,
Right.
you are always
And then there's the
welcome
guy
here.
who's like a normal intelligence who has like the actual correct opinion. That's like Chomsky. Chomsky